Hi everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, School Gunner. How you all keeping out there, guys? I hope you're keeping well. I just want to start as always by thanking everybody for your continuous support on my channel. Your likes on my videos, your subscribes, your comments, I really appreciate it. Of course, as you know, a month ago now, I got monetized, so absolutely delighted with that. Great news to be monetized on YouTube. I achieved something few people very will or will ever see in their lives, so great to be monetized, guys. Like this video of me, comment in the comment section below, and if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel, School Gunner. If you want to donate, if you look under the little message button, there's a little dollar bill sign. If you click on that, you can donate to my channel. $1 will do, guys. That's all it has to be. Get a microphone, chair, this and that. So I would appreciate it. And like I said, it's underneath the message box. It's a little dollar bill sign. If you click on that, you can donate $1. I would appreciate it. Otherwise, when the video is over, there's a donate sign next to the share and the like. If you click on that, you can donate to my channel. I haven't been online in a while. It's been a crazy week. Absolutely incredible temperatures here in the UK, here where I am in London. Unbelievable heat. Impossible to escape. And I've been working through it. So I took a little break from YouTube just to get through that period. I've been busy as well in my own life. But it's good to be back. I'll be looking to create some content. Like I said, I hope you're all keeping well. I'm expecting a special guest coming on the show in a while. I'll keep that secret until he actually comes on. But yeah, I'll keep that secret, guys, until the man actually comes on. Stapes in the house, 22. Hope all is well. Yeah, not too bad. No, man, not too bad. I survived the heat. I got through it. Yeah. It wasn't easy, I'm not going to lie. I was in South America for 6 months last year, but still it was very hot there 1 or 2 days in the week. But if you haven't already, guys, this man here, Stapes, he has a channel with a couple of buddies of his, lifelong Gooners, diehard Arsenal fans. It's, man, honestly, it's been too hot the last couple of days. My brain just switched off. Just give me a second. It's the 3 Pointers TV. If you haven't already, check out the channel. Some of the best editing skills, some of the funniest watch-alongs I've seen. So if you haven't already, guys, check out that channel, the 3 Pointers TV. Do yourselves a favor. Also, I see Alex is in the house. A quick hi from him. But yeah, he's just about to hit the pool. That's nice for him. But guys, he just uploaded a premiere just like 5 minutes ago. If you haven't already, about the Arsenal hammering Chelsea over in Orlando in the preseason, I think the Florida Cup. So check that out. But check out his channel. This is it here, guys. Arsenal Alex. Check out his YouTube channel. He's a lifelong Gooner. He's always been at the protests, supporting the club, supporting the fans. His handle on Instagram is Arsenal Alex and the number 1. So do yourselves a favor and check out his channel. Nice to have you along, Alex. Have a good time at the pool, man. Jez Collins, welcome along, man. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. If you haven't already, guys, check out this man's channel. If he wants to put up the name of the channel in the message bar, I'll put it up on the screen. But like his videos, subscribe to his channel, and make sure you comment on the content. But if you want to put your channel name up, Jez, because I forget the name of it, man, do, and I'll put it up on the screen for you. But yeah, guys, it's been a crazy week. I haven't been uploading much content. I've been surviving the heat. But yeah, I'm back with a bang. Of course, it's been pre-season for Arsenal. We've had a lot of victories under our belt. The most impressive was that win against Chelsea. Absolutely slaughtered them 4-0 in the Florida Cup over in Orlando in the United States. Thomas Tuchel, the Chelsea coach, of course, was absolutely fuming after that game. But I'm going to get into that in a while, guys. Let me just see what I have on the agenda. This is channel, guys. This is Jez Collins' channel, Arsenal, the history, and more. So check that out. Like his videos, subscribe to his channel, and don't forget to comment in the comment section below. I'm going to be setting up some collaborations over the next couple of months. So I hope to have a lot of people definitely come on my channel. I can come on theirs. So if Jez would be interested in that, that would be good. We can have a bit of fun along the way too. It doesn't have to be too serious. You know what I mean? But yeah, I'm just going to start with the preseason, really, guys. As the title of the video is, of course, about Zinchenko joining Arsenal, but I'm going to start with our preseason, what's really been going on with that. It's been pretty productive, to be honest. We've been going well. The team has been winning a lot of games. Simple as that. But we have been going very, very well. Just hang on a second. If you look at the actual squad we have, if you look at the players we have, our goalkeepers are listed as Bernd Leno, Alex Runnison, Matt Turner. Then we have Aaron Ramsdale and Arthur Konku. Our defenders, Bellerin, Tierney, White, Gabriel, Holding, Suarez, Tomiyasu, Tavares, Mari. New signings Zinchenko is in there, and Saliba. They actually put him in as a defender. He played 9 different positions for Manchester City. He won 4 league titles with them. He's very versatile. Our midfielders, Thomas Partey, Saka, Odegaard, Rowe, Maitland-Niles, Fabio Vieira, Lokonga, Elneny, Xhaka, Torreira. Unfortunately, Xhaka and Elneny are still in the mix there. How I'll never understand, I'll never know. Forwards, Jesus, Martinelli, Nketiah, Pepe, Nelson, Balogun, Marquinhos. We're a bit light in the forwards, I'm not going to lie, but we're light all over the squad, to be honest. That is the whole squad for the season, guys, so far. The league is starting in just 2 weeks. Our first game is August the 5th. We're playing against Crystal Palace. We're away to Crystal Palace on Friday the 5th of August, kick off 8 p.m. That is match day 1 in the Premier League. That's where it starts for us. It's not going to be it's not going to be an easy game. I'm just going to say it. Big up to Stapes, man. Big up to the 3 Pointers TV. He's just subscribed to Jez's channel. One more for you, Jez. And it's as simple as that, guys. Nice to see the love, guys. People helping each other out on YouTube, supporting each other's channels, and supporting the Arsenal FC, guys. Good to see. But yeah, Premier League, first game of the season, match day 1, Friday, 5th of August, 8 p.m. Put it in your calendars. We're away to Crystal Palace. Of course, ex-gunner, and legend. He'll always be a legend. Patrick Vieira is now managing Crystal Palace. They did a number on us last season. Are they going to do it this season? But they have a fantastic team. There's no doubt about it. And that, for me, is the toughest of possible starts. Arteta has to have the team ready for that game. We need to fight for every inch of the ground against them. It's not going to be an easy game by any stretch of the imagination. So we just have to see how that works out. But it is going to be a tough one. There's absolutely no doubt about that. Still waiting on somebody there. I have someone lined up to join the stream. Still waiting on them to come in. But we'll see what's happening. I'm sure they'll be in a while. But yeah, the preseason has been going pretty well for us. The last 2 games I'm going to talk about, we beat Orlando 3-1, Orlando City FC. And of course, we absolutely annihilated Chelsea yesterday 4-0. The team is improving, no doubt about that. I hope that the fact that Saliba is back, that they actually go and do something. That the team can move forward and actually achieve something. The fact that Saliba is back is a real plus. There's no doubt about that, in my opinion. But let's see how it goes. Mikel Arteta has faced the media after beating Chelsea 4-0 in the Florida Cup on Saturday. He was asked about the development of the side, the options he has in defence, and the latest on our injured players. But first, let's talk about the game itself. Here we go. So the way it actually started out for us this season was on the July the 8th, we beat Nuremberg 5-3. Then on the 17th, in a friendly, we beat Everton 2-0. Then in the Florida Cup series, we beat Orlando 3-1. And then we also beat Chelsea 4-0. Just a second, guys. I think my guest is coming in. I'm going to line him up. It's very bright there behind him. I don't know, can he turn off that light? But let's see. There we go. Hey, how are you?
Good, thanks, Dave. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Your sound is very good.
Yeah. What I had to do was just I had to make sure that I muted the YouTube video, and the picture quality from my side might not be the best, but I'm just glad to be joining in.
I can see you. Welcome.
Yeah, good.
The sound is absolutely perfect.
Yeah, I think as long as the sound's perfect, that might be enough. But sadly,
yeah, but the picture quality is good. Yeah.
Oh, thanks. I mean,
I can
it should
see
be
you.
better.
I can see you.
I'm in front of a PC, so I might need to use a laptop instead. So At
Yeah,
least with
I'm
there
using my
you'll get a
laptop
better.
there now.
At least with there
Mm,
you'll get a better resolution for the camera. So yeah,
sure.
now that I'm seeing it on StreamYard, it looks a lot better. So thanks a lot for having me, Dave. How are you?
Welcome along, man. I'm good. I'm good. I survived the absolute incredible temperatures in London and the 40 degrees. I got through those 2 days. I was
That's
working, believe it or not, but I managed to get through it. I was in South America last year for 6 months, so I had I had some idea of what it's like to be in a hot country. But
yeah.
incredible temperatures. But I'm good, man. I'm excited about the signing of Jesus. Um, Zinchenko also. He's a bit of an unknown quantity also for me because I know he's played in the Premier League. I know he's played for Manchester City, but they've played him in so many different positions. I think 9 positions in total.
They have,
I mean,
yes, and
I
that's
honestly, yeah,
okay.
no, it's fine. Walk away.
No, it's all right. I mean, I don't want to interrupt your train of thought. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I honestly don't. Yeah, I don't know what is his best position. Like I just checked the squad for the season. He is listed as a defender. Um, he is a versatile player, but I would like to see him moved into one or two positions and be a regular, hold down a position in the team. And there's definitely place for him in the team. He's better than a lot of the players we have. The big plus for me with Zinchenko, he has Premier League experience, and that for me is worth its weight in gold. A player that already has played in the Premier League, knows the pace of the game, knows the opposition. It just for me that counts for a lot, and I'm happy that he has that Premier League experience because that is a very valuable asset. Whenever we're linked with a player in the Premier League, whether it's James Maddison at Leicester, I always think it's a good thing. Same with Jesus, that they have that Premier League experience because it counts for a lot. They can hit the ground running. We need to hit the ground running very fast. I didn't realize the season start was so soon. I thought we were starting on like the 16th of August. It's actually August the 5th, and we're away against Crystal Palace, and we all know what they're capable of under Vieira. It's going to be a tough start. We need to hit the ground running. The team needs to be settled and they need to go forward. And we're better with Saliba. I hope Saliba plays. I don't know what you think of the signings. Maybe you want to talk first about actually you as an Arsenal fan when you started supporting the team and how it all came about.
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting thing. I'm really glad that you asked that question. To be honest, I started supporting them in 1990, 1991. That was after the after Italia 90, where, as you know, Ireland made their World Cup debut on Jack Charlton and went on to, shock the world really with some of their performances.
A team full of English
And
players, yeah, we did well.
yeah, and listen, I mean, like he got results with that squad, and I thought he did really
Yeah,
well on the circumstances.
he's respected.
And
He's respected in my country.
oh yes, yes, yes. Forth. I did enjoy playing football to that extent, but as far as watching football was concerned, it didn't really so much appeal to me. And when we were living in the UK at the time, hooliganism was still a bit of a problem. In fact, when I was growing up, we still had the Heysel ban, which meant
Mm,
that English clubs couldn't compete in Europe, and
mm.
hooliganism was always a very big threat. When you grow up in an Indian family living in the UK, racism is always a pretty big risk, and you can just imagine how the situation would be at football grounds. So I've never been to an actual live football game. All my support has been as you know, television fan, so to speak. But
Ah,
I started watching them in 1990,
that's a shame.
1991. Game, yeah, it is what it is. What it is, David. You can't do anything about it. But I started watching them in 1990, in that 91 season. That was when David Seaman joined,
Mm,
and I think the first game I saw was when they beat Liverpool 3-0. It was Merson, Dixon, Smith who were the scorers that day,
mm.
and it was good watching them. And Liverpool were always the team I think that many other teams love to hate because they were, of course, I think the defending league champions. They obviously had the history domestically and in Europe, so it was good to put one over on them. And what I saw from the team that day led me to believe that they had the makings of a solid team that could do well and win trophies. I'd never known about the 1989 triumph or the 1987 League Cup under Graham, but I knew that with Adams and Rocastle and a few other players, they had the spine of a really top quality team, and that sort of appealed to me as well. So obviously, when Arsenal won that championship at the end of the season, I was quite happy. I mean, delighted, so to speak, because Liverpool had been knocked off their perch. I never even knew that we did the same to them in 1989. And then I started to, support them even when they had a few not very good seasons. They still managed to win trophies, and that was the thing about George Graham, how he was able to mould the team. Whether it was the domestic cup double in '93 or the Cup Winners' Cup in '94, he knew how to get the best out of that team. And so when he was sacked, it was a bit of a disappointment. And then Wenger came in, and for the first 10 years, it was, absolutely brilliant football. But then he simply refused to, change and evolve from his personality.
Yes.
As the game evolves, Dave, you've got to evolve with it. It's as simple as that. And you can't just just at the same things that have served you well in the past will do the same for you. So that's pretty much me. And whenever I've been able to watch them on the TV, I could. But I've never been to Highbury, sadly, and I've never been to the Emirates. There is a part of me that would like to go to the Emirates one day, but obviously, given the state the club is in and the fact that people are willing to, people are so discontented with the way things are going, I just don't think that's really an option right now. But it is what it is, and all we can do is hope for better. And that segues into this season. I would say that Jesus and Zinchenko have been our best two signings, and it's ironic that we had to poach them, if you will, from the defending champions. Gone are the days when we used to sell players who would join other teams and win championships, whether it was United or City or Chelsea. Now we have to take some champions from them who might not be wanted anymore to do a good job for us. But that is pretty much the nature of the player we can afford. And I know that I've been getting a lot of stick for this. I would have preferred Morata over Jesus, because Morata had a better international record, and he would also be that sort of player who'd have a point to prove. But I think he also made it clear that he didn't want to come to Arsenal. So Jesus, I'm happy with. And Zinchenko is quality. So everything you said about those two signings, spot on, and we can move on from here. I don't want to drag the conversation on any further. The other signings, I will say, not very, very convinced as of yet, but I guess there is time. They do deserve a chance. And I see Steve-O's joined the chat. Mate, wonderful to see you. Hope it's not too late where you are. I think it is. You might need to get some sleep, yeah?
The Aussie Gooner, yeah? The Aussie Gooner. That's nice.
Oh, we chat on Instagram very frequently, and there's a part of me that would like to come on one of his videos or streams. In fact, given his time difference, it's always difficult for him to jump onto any stream, because if it might be 2 p.m. over in the UK, it'll be 11 p.m. over in Oz. Might be time for him to sleep.
What time is it where you are?
It is 6:20, going to be 6:30. So I'm in a bit of a sweet spot, if you will, between the two of you. Although I do have some plans on moving back to the UK very soon, so at least it'll be at a different time, and maybe we could even catch up over a pint or two. Yeah.
Yeah, we can. We can. Absolutely.
If you like the man that never sleeps. Okay, I trust you, but it's Sunday. You might have to work on Monday. Yeah. And if you like Guinness as much as I do, then that's not a problem.
Yeah, right. That's good. You like Guinness, yeah? I like Guinness.
Of course, I mean,
it's a nice taste. Yeah, it's very healthy for if you're a rugby player. It's good. But thank you for coming on, man. I appreciate it, and thank you for those words. I myself have been supporting Arsenal since 1993. A lot of people probably know that. My first memories are when I was in school. Of course, I was 13 then. That would tell you how old I am. But my mum went to get me a pencil case, and she came back. The poor woman went up the high street. She came back with an Everton pencil case. So I just stood back, 3-pointer, with respect to Everton, straight into the bin. I just dunked it. But like I said, I had already had my eye on Arsenal. I, of course, remember Parma, the Cup Winners' Cup final against Parma. Alan Smith chesting down the clearance and volleying into the net. Trying to keep Thomas Brolin at bay. That was a very good victory for Arsenal. But that's where it all started for me. Of course, my very early memories are of Ian Wright. He was a hero of mine until his recent outbursts. But I just want to say, Manny, anyway, people have their own opinions on this channel, and you are free to air your opinions, and they will be respected. Whether they are the same as mine or they differ from mine, everybody's opinions are respected on my channel. I'm not one of these guys. I'm not one of these guys that just, wants people on that are like-minded. Everybody's entitled to their opinion and speak freely. Not a problem. Everyone's opinions will be respected. I just want to put that out there first, because you haven't been on my channel before, so
Yeah,
and we're all friends here. We're all supporters of the same club.
Yeah, this is the first time I'm coming on your stream, and I've always wanted to have a stream with you. So I'm glad you've called me on. It's nice to talk to you.
Yeah, it's a
By
pleasure.
the way, I'm going to take a guess. I'm going to take a bit of a guess and just try and determine where you're from, because your accent doesn't sound Dublin to me. No. Would you happen to be from Bray by any chance? County Wicklow?
No.
Sligo?
Deep down south. South.
Waterford, maybe?
Further south. Good guess, though.
Cork, perhaps? No, Cork's up.
Cork City, yeah. Cork City.
Oh, Roy Keane and Dennis Irwin territory, huh?
That's right, my friend. That's right. Two good players. Irwin was completely underrated. He was a very good defender.
Oh, yeah. Irwin should be remembered as one of Ireland's and United's greatest, but
brilliant
I think
defender.
Because of his personality, he's not that, loud, rebel sort of person. He's more of a quiet.
He's very reserved and keeps to himself.
Yeah.
But what do you what did you make of the end of last season? I know there's a new season coming. I don't want to talk about negatives or positives. But what did you make of our run for fourth place at the end of last season? I mean, rid of Bamang at like a vital point of the season. Okay, he wasn't doing it. He wasn't scoring the goals. He wasn't doing the business. He was at sixes and sevens. He wasn't friendly with Arteta anymore. The relationship was strained. But the way we just let him go like that, it knocked the stuffing out of us a bit, because he might have got us a couple of goals just to take us over the line to get Champions League football. It was just the manner of it. And then he went to Barcelona and he couldn't stop scoring.
Yeah.
What did you make of that? Like the last part of the season? I mean.
Oh, well, here's the thing. I mean, I could go on and on about Aubameyang, really. I'm going to start by talking about the last part of the season by saying that I was never one of those people who were, jumping on the Champions League bandwagon based on a few good results and saying, we're on our way to the Champions League because we got Tierney at the back and lack an attack and all that rubbish. Because, it's never over until the fat lady sings. Although I think it's fair to say that after the loss against Newcastle, she started to clear her voice, yeah?
Yeah.
It was just disappointing, Dave. It really was. We didn't score. It's not just that we didn't get any points against Tottenham and Newcastle. We didn't even score against Tottenham and Newcastle. And that showed that when the going got tough, we couldn't get going. And we had a bit of a soft centre, a soft underbelly, if you will. And Granit Xhaka tends to epitomise that soft underbelly. So it was a bit of a disappointment. And although there were many of us, I will admit, who weren't predicting that we would be in a Champions League race, let's also put into perspective that because we had the advantage of no European football, we had the freedom, per se, to compete for a higher league position. And that was also underpinned by the fact that we made exits from the League Cup to Liverpool, damn squib, and Nottingham Forest in the FA Cup, that was another damn squib. So we should have been in a position to change our perspective. And I think somebody said in the stream earlier that when Leicester City won the league in 2016, they never had any predictions that they would go all the way. I mean, they were doing really well. They would say to themselves, let's see how it goes. And then, Ranieri's bunch went on to win the whole thing, finishing ahead of us, despite the fact that we did double over them that season. So you just never know. You got your aims will change. You can move the goalposts, and so for a fan base that was talking so much about winning the Champions League and sticking it to the Arteta out crew, the fact that they ended up faltering would have had to make them eat humble pie, and yet they stick their chests out to say, well, we didn't expect fourth place at the start of the season. Jog on, for heaven's sake. And we're not taking any satisfaction from seeing them just fail to finish fourth. Far from it. But what we're asking for is perspective. The best teams aren't satisfied with doing as well as they can. They look for where they faltered, and try to improve on that.
Mm.
And we should have invested in January. We should have brought in a few more players, but because we had to trim the wage bill, we didn't get anyone. Penny wise, pound foolish, you see. Because we didn't want to spend only a little bit on getting a few players who would have, strengthened the squad. We thought it would be best to just, we thought it best to save money and trim the wage bill by selling a few players, selling more, and weakening our squad. We ended up suffering as a result. Now we're back in the Europa League where we never wanted to be. And that segues into Aubameyang. I want to be concise, but I'm going to say this right now. Mikel Arteta completely mucked it up with him. And he has a lot for which to answer when it comes to, how Arteta's time with the club ended. 92 goals for us. He could have left a legacy with us. And he wanted that legacy. And Arteta took that from him. And Arteta's tactics also let Aubameyang down at times. I look back to the 2021 season where, after at one point finishing 15th being 15th in the league and being so close to a relegation battle, we knew that we would never qualify for the Champions League via the league position, but the Europa League was our biggest chance. Semi-final against Unai Emery of all people, the man who he replaced as Arsenal boss. Arteta had his chance to, stamp his mark and take us to a trophy. And he mucked up big time. Playing a false nine? Who does that? In the first leg, he kept Aubameyang on the bench for about 80-odd minutes and brought him on for the last 5 minutes to try to get some goal when one would have helped. We had a 2-1 half cushion because we had an away goal. And then in the second leg, all we had to do was score one goal. Aubameyang hits the post twice. Arteta takes him off and brings on Willian Borges.
Just when he was getting into his rhythm, he was just finding his range. He took him off.
Yes.
He was just finding his range, man. He was at his most dangerous.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, God.
Indeed. It's as if people seem to take a look at the last few weeks, the way things went a little bit belly up, as one can admit, and say, that Aubameyang should be to blame. And I will say that it is important to ensure discipline. We still don't know the circumstances of Aubameyang's trip to France, which caused this whole kerfluffle. But here's the thing. If you are that if you are a stickler for discipline and you do rightly believe that the captain has to set an example, by all means, take the captaincy away from him. But do it respectfully and do it, with a little bit of dignity. And I think there's a preview from the All or Nothing DVD which talks about how Aubameyang had the captaincy stripped from him. I think it's fair to say that, he was done really dirty. And we still don't know the circumstances as to exactly why Arteta determined that he had to be binned from the entire squad per se. Earlier on that season, he had a captain's performance in the North London derby, although I will say that, that Tottenham team under Nuno Santo was absolute crap that day, and after Conte came in, they overtook us. So
they were
that
awful.
Yeah. So that puts it into more perspective. He might not be in the best of form, he might not be in the best of nick, but he also hasn't been very lucky at times. And so you don't just bin a player per se. You keep him on the bench, knowing that he can still offer you an option off the bench, and just ease him back into it. And if he scores a few goals and gets you back in, that's fine. If he had kept until the end of the season, I have no doubt that he would have edged closer to that 100-goal mark, and at least he would have stayed with us. Maybe Aubameyang felt, in my opinion, that he couldn't trust Arteta in terms of his tactics, in terms of man management, in terms of the way he approached the game. And this could segue into another issue with Zinchenko, but I'll get back to you then. But basically, we ended up losing a real gem in Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. He's gone to Barcelona now. He's done quite well. Yes, he's had a few missed games, but games where he hasn't really, hit the target, so to speak. But with strikers like him, you know that more often than not, you're going to get more hits than misses. And so Xavi Hernandez, who knows a lot more about management, mind you, than Arteta, and who's had a far greater career than Arteta has had, has done the right thing with him. He's made it very clear that he trusts Arteta to be an instant success at Barcelona and will build the attack around him. But in return, Aubameyang has to make sure that he buys into the Barcelona culture and make sure that he, sticks to the ethos of the club and make sure that it's maintained. And that's how you do that. You set You set those standards at the very, very beginning. And Aubameyang likes that, and he's responded well. Although it's only half a season, we're going to see how this season goes. But he'll be playing in the Champions League, and I think Barcelona do look to be on the up again. So it'll be interesting to see how they challenge Real. I think
they have Lewandowski now. Yeah, they bought Lewandowski from Bayern.
Oh yeah, so with
a lot of firepower. Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
With Aubameyang and Lewandowski up front, that's going to be a real expect fireworks. That's all I can say.
Yeah, it's a very interesting pairing. I never thought of the two of them playing in the same team. You know, you have Aubameyang and Lewandowski. It's the mix, the difference is it's positive. They'll go well together, I think, because they're completely different players.
Yeah,
a real handful.
Yeah, I mean, Steve-O once again has come up with another cracker. We're going to win the league now, haven't you heard? Yeah, we've heard. The Top Gunners are in. Crashed Chelsea 4-0 in pre-season, and once again everyone's going gaga.
More or less, it's a meaningless match. I mean, Florida Cup, respect to that, but it's meaningless. I mean, last season we can't get off to a worse start than we did at the start of last season. The 3 losses in a row. I mean, regardless of who we were playing, it was the performances. It was the performances at that part of the season. It wasn't just the results. City and Chelsea are decent teams, but the way the team played and the way Arteta set them out with the mindset, I mean, especially the first game, if we had got off to a win in the first game, which was doable, it would have set us up, going into the 2 difficult games.
It was against Brentford, right? And that was before they got out.
That's right. The very first match. Okay, we didn't have a couple of the players we had bought, but the management have themselves to blame for that because they didn't get the players into the squad in time, into training, settled. Now it's looking a little bit better because you don't want to be buying players too close to the start of the season and we don't have time to bed them in. And then they're not available for the first games. They need to be available for every single game as soon as the season starts. We need a full-strength squad. We need everybody available, injury-free. Last season was a disaster, man. Those 3 defeats, they really knocked the stuffing out of us. And Arteta was clueless at that point.
Absolutely. And here's the thing. I mean, a lot of people were saying that, based on the run that the club went on after those 3 games, how they were able to magically recover, if you will, that things were looking up. And especially since by coincidence Ramsdale ended up coming in goal to replace Bernd Leno, then people started to stick with him. And, Ramsdale was producing a lot of camera saves. The one against, I think it was Madison, wasn't it, at Leicester?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but that one particular was, of course, nominated for save of the season.
From the free kick. Yeah.
Yes, from the free kick. I mean, let me make it crystal clear. I mean, I used to play as a goalkeeper when I was much younger, but sadly, since I stopped growing, I'm about 5'9" now. And you can't play as a goalkeeper unless you're 6 foot tall. Even 6 feet is considered to be too short. Ramsdale's 6'2". Martinez is 6'5", 6'6", easily one of the top keepers in the world right now. And, Ramsdale did brilliantly to sort of arch his back and, get his left hand to the ball. But even when he got it, he wasn't quite able to flick the ball up over the crossbar. Now, I don't know if he's left-handed or right-handed. I think he might be right-handed, so his left hand might not be a stronger hand. So he was able to flip it onto the bar, and it's still, we do need a number 8. You're absolutely right. Tielemans has to come. Either Tielemans or Madison. I wouldn't mind either of them. Well done, Steve. So when he flipped it onto the bar, Dave, it sort of bounced down in such a way that it didn't cross over the line. And with the bounce off the crossbar, sometimes fortune favors you, other times it doesn't. And then also, given that he was prostrate on the floor, if a Leicester player had gotten to that ball first and scored, that would have been all for nothing. I'm not dissing the quality of the save. I mean, it was brilliant, but there's more to being a goalkeeper than making camera saves. And when we had Martinez in the team, he only made some camera saves when he needed to, but the solidity and the cohesion that he led to the back four, especially when we went on that run to the FA Cup and won it in those 15 games he played when Leno was injured. I thought that was wonderful. David Seaman was probably the last goalkeeper we had who could do that. And people are going to say Jens Lehmann was good, but I will always associate that German bugger with his sending off in the Champions League final. That cost us.
Yeah.
The fact that Robert Pires had to be taken off for Almunia in that match in front of his own crowd.
Yeah.
That was really heartbreaking.
We were giving
But
as good as we were getting until the sending off. That's true. I actually saw Jens Lehmann in person. I saw him
Yeah.
when I was living in Switzerland before. And
Uh-huh.
not to go off the point there, not to get a train of thought, but it was the Swiss legends with the Stefan Chapuisat
Oh, Chappie's.
against the German legends with Jens
Yeah.
Lehmann. Lehmann started in goal, and then in the second half he played full forward. He's actually Switzerland won that game, but he's actually quite fit, Lehmann. He kept himself in very good condition. He's in good shape, but he's much younger than the rest. He was much
is in
younger
good
than
shape,
the other
of course.
guys.
Yeah, he is in good shape, and of course he came back to us
physically fit.
at the time, and he came back and played his 200th game with us. I mean, look, he is professional, he is fit, he knows how to play, but let's just say that was not a mistake that David Seaman would necessarily have made, although I could be wrong, perhaps, I don't know. But when it comes to an Arsenal goalkeeper, what you want in an Arsenal goalkeeper, you want solidity, you want no nonsense, no frills. You want that type of goalkeeper who can cover the angles really well and make sure that people find it difficult to score past him. And then if you need to, you can make a camera save. And one thing you notice as well about Leno and Ramsdale, neither of them are the best when it comes to dealing with crosses.
No.
No, at least with Seaman, who was 6'4", and Martinez, who was 6'5" or 6'6", they could deal with them quite well. And the way Martinez moves for a tall bloke, I mean, that was, it was wonderful, and we should never have gotten rid of him. But Ramsdale, of course, has to improve in many ways, and coming to the end of that season, I think his positioning was a little bit off. His kicking started to suffer a little bit, and so the same problems.
Yeah, he went through a bad patch at the end there. He was suffering.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
And the same problems, David, which had afflicted Leno, started to afflict Ramsdale. And Ramsdale has started to believe that he believed his own hype. He believed he was good as the press thought he was. No, mate, no. You came to us after 2 seasons with Bournemouth and Sheffield United where you got relegated, so you still have a lot to prove. And it's very easy to say that because he was relegated, he had to make a lot of good saves. But as a goalkeeper, you got to command your defence well. And I think Ramsdale hasn't really done that. I mean, he shouts a lot. He's very mouthy. He's a mouthy.
Communicative, with the back four. He keeps them on their toes.
Yeah, that is one thing I will, say about him.
He's good at that too.
You've also got to
Leno was not good at that at all.
No. But you've also got to make sure that you really form that understanding.
Yeah.
I mean, Seaman never had to necessarily shout at his players. With his big Yorkshire accent, he didn't need to raise his voice. But with Ramsdale, sometimes, you can't just be animated all the time. Sometimes you've got to learn to just calm things down, have a measure of authority. And that's the type of keeper that I like. And that's why Seaman will always be my favourite. And Martinez is still one of my favourites.
Sorry to cut across you, my friend, but it never made sense that we got rid of Martinez. And then we bought Ramsdale and we wasted, 40 million. I mean, did you see Martinez that time against Manchester United? Villa against United. He played mind games with Cristiano Ronaldo. He freaked him out completely.
Yes.
And then he freaked out Bruno Fernandes and they missed the penalty. Then he did the little dance. The guy has got confidence, but he has ability. Like the Copa America, they went all the way and they won it.
Oh, I saw the Copa America. I saw the Copa America semi-final and the final and one or two other matches in between. And I knew we had let a diamond go. And and Steve-O's still in the chat. I believe we also signed Matt Ryan as well to come to us on loan. That fellow was quality. 2-time World Cupper, Asian Cup champion, very solid. He also knew how to narrow his angles and not give the strikers too many opportunities. And yet he was also not given the proper chance. I would have had him play a few Europa League games. I think when it comes to goalkeepers, Dave, Arteta's quite clueless, really. I don't know what I don't know what he sees. He just doesn't know very much about the Arsenal way that makes teams as solid as they are and makes teams as successful as they are. No.
You remember the Europa League game against Villarreal, the second leg? Well, both legs. It was Arteta against Unai, against Emery.
Yep. Yeah.
He got absolutely schooled. Emery schooled him completely. But they just like in the second game, we had the game back in London. It was there for the taking. We still had a chance. It was up for grabs. But they just culled us. They just stopped us playing. They got physical to a man. They were a big team, but they could play. When they got the ball, when they out-muscled you, they could play. I mean, collectively they were a very dangerous team, Villarreal. But I don't know, Arteta, he just stood there and he just let the whole thing. See Smith Rowe looking to the sideline. You could see Saka looking to the sideline. They just couldn't break through. They couldn't get the space in between the lines. There was no space, and they got out-muscled every single time. Every single one of the Villarreal players was like 6'3", 6'4", as I remember. Giants out there, and they were all men. And like I said, a footballing team, they can play. That, for me, was a chastening experience when I saw how we performed in that game. Not just because Emery got the better of him. It's like we were one-dimensional, and when that didn't work, we had no answer. And in the second game, we had a chance. We were still in the game, but they just snuffed us out. You know what I mean? That, for me, will always be the game I will think of under Arteta, because he was clueless. I mean, and Emery was laughing. Emery was sitting down relaxed. He knew it was a done deal. That was before the game.
Unai's a top manager, man, and that's that was
he never got a proper chance, man.
Yeah, exactly, and he was never given the chance to really do as well as he could. I to this day, I will never know what the board were thinking when they got Arteta in, because what exactly were his credentials as a manager, we never know. He was assistant coach to Pep Guardiola, but what exactly was his input when it came to tactics or whatever, we still don't quite know. And if you wanted to bring a former manager back who had gone into management, you might as well have considered taking a real long shot and consider bringing Tony Adams in. And not to drop a name a bit, but I have had the honor of speaking to him twice, and he's obviously quite chatty, very full of life. It's wonderful to see him, a lot happier, having long since recovered from alcoholism and becoming teetotal. He talks about his struggles and everything. To me, that fellow was a legend. And his few forays into management admittedly weren't so successful, but at least he knew a lot more about the trade than Arteta did. So you could have had a long shot and brought him back. And he himself has been quoted as saying, "Mate, I don't want to do that. The squad's not good enough. I'm not interested in that nonsense." So if he refused, you can imagine, if he refused to come back to Arsenal and manage it, you can imagine the state of the club as it is today. But anyone would have been better than Arteta. What do you say?
Yeah, I think yeah, of course. I agree absolutely 110% with you. Pep was the man that was leading Manchester City to the titles. Pep Guardiola was the man that was making Manchester City successful. Arteta, I'll be honest, man, I think he was making the tea. Honestly, my opinion. Because he also took one of the defensive coaches from Manchester City to Arsenal. He's fixed the defence. I didn't see any signs of him fixing the defence, to be honest. Defence hasn't been there. What about the Matteo Guendouzi situation? What about Torreira? Torreira would have died for Arsenal Football Club. Lucas Torreira, yeah? He would have died for Arsenal Football Club. He was dying to get into the team. He would do anything. Yet we have Elneny. Yet we have Xhaka. Guendouzi, brilliant player. And he's got heart. He's got spirit. And he's one of the guys that actually went into the tackle. He had a bit of fire in him. You know what I mean? And you always need a player like that. Cesc Fabregas had it. Remember Cesc Fabregas? He could be cheeky. He could be a bit insolent sometimes. You know what I mean? He'd let guys know about it. He wasn't afraid to go into the tackle and get stuck in. You always need a player like Guendouzi, a player like Fabregas. And Arteta, again, he just, in training with these players, with Guendouzi, with Saliba, he's just not a good man manager, and you need to be that. And I was never a fan of Sir Alex Ferguson, yeah, I'll be honest. But he was a good man manager. You need to handle the personalities in there. And I don't know, the clash between himself and Guendouzi, I think Arteta could have been the bigger man and tried to patch things up with him instead of just sending him off. That's my opinion in it. He doesn't seem to be able to manage the players.
Agreed. He doesn't. And I'm going to say this right now, yeah? If you've been following Del Boy, and I want to thank you for getting me in touch with him, because, thanks to you, I've been on this channel a lot more frequently, and I was going to come back to you as a means of thanking you for that. He released a video not too long ago on YouTube where he said that the Guendouzi situation really started, I think it was in the 2019-20 season, where that was when we won the FA Cup, and that was, of course, at that match when Leno got injured. And obviously Guendouzi lost his rag. But before that, I believe they had a trip to Dubai, yeah? And Guendouzi was sort of behaving like a bit of a brat over there when it came to. I think they went out for a dinner somewhere and there was some music being played. He was behaving rather obnoxiously, and I think he wanted some different music to be played. And then when that music was playing, he was taking off his shirt and whirling it around. And I think Del Boy will speak about that more specifically on his video. But that is an example of how, when it comes to discipline, as I've said earlier with regard to Aubameyang, and how Xavi has done it at Barcelona. You've got to set those standards for discipline at the very beginning, and that's what Alex Ferguson would do. That's what the best managers would do. They'd make it very clear that, yes, as players, I think Steve-O might do really well, fair dinkum Aussie. Pulls no punches, has language for the job, very rough, has the voice. Yeah, Steve-O, you do a good job there, mate. And
he has the physicality, He has the physicality too. He's a big guy.
Oh, I don't doubt it.
Steve is a big man. Yeah, he's a big guy.
Yeah. So you've got to set those standards when it comes to discipline at the very beginning and make it very clear that as players, we want you to play and enjoy yourself. But when you are out representing the football club, you've got to learn to behave yourself. And Guendouzi failed to do that. And it's bad enough that Arteta never set those standards. You'd think that when you go to a conservative place like the UAE. I mean, I know that Dubai is a lot more liberal than many of the other places in the Gulf, but it is at heart still a very conservative society, and people do not take very kindly there to that sort of obnoxious behaviour. So there should have been a debriefing before going to Dubai, telling them about the do's and don'ts of how you're supposed to behave, and that should have been done, and Guendouzi should have had that. And even after that, if Guendouzi was still going to behave like an idiot, one of the captains over there should have, collared him and said, sit your backside down. That is not how you behave. And I think we should talk about that a lot more on Dell's channel. Hopefully, maybe he'll do a stream on that. But when it comes to setting discipline, you've got to do it at the beginning. You can't just be reactive and do it after the fact. As well, if you're going to discard players like Guendouzi and Aubameyang over attitude issues, you've got to make it more consistent and do it across the board.
Xhaka.
I mean, what sort of an example? Yeah, Xhaka, you said it. What sort of a leadership example is Xhaka setting by, grabbing someone by the throat and getting himself sent off frequently? It's ridiculous. It really
Taking
is.
off the armband and throwing it on the ground. That is just.
And that just goes to show that you're not supposed to have any cliques. Yes, you can have a leadership group composed of the most senior players, but when it comes to discipline, there are no favourites. There should be no cliques. Everyone is in it together. It's as simple as that. That's how they did it at Manchester United with that core connection. I mean, everyone says that Keane set the standards, but those standards were set long before by Brian Robson and Steve Bruce.
They were in place. Yeah, they were already in place. It's true.
Oh, yes. And Keane continued them to an extent. Yeah. And even Keane, mind you, was no choir boy. He had his run-ins with Ferguson very, very often. And then, of course, there was that ridiculous MUTV interview, which, preceded his departure. But what I'm saying is, issues of discipline and culture have got to be hammered home at the very beginning and not after a fact. And what happened with Guendouzi was definitely a failure because, that shouldn't have happened, first of all. And there should have been a talking to him. And especially with Aubameyang, a lot more should have been done for him. I think what happened, Dave, is that both of those players have made it pretty clear that they're not very big fans of Arteta and his ways. And it just makes sense. If it's my way or the highway, if you don't like it, get out of my way. That's Arteta's mentality. And that is not the way to manage a football club.
Yeah, he's uncompromising with that situation. And he's straight to the point, and he is lacking managerial experience. I mean, whatever way Arteta wants to see it, whatever he tries to convince himself of, he is not like Conte. He is not like Thomas Tuchel. He's not like Jurgen Klopp. I mean, God Almighty, he's lacking a lot of managerial experience. He hasn't done enough laps around the track like Carlo Ancelotti. Arteta is not. He hasn't got that experience yet. He can think what he likes, but he was assistant to Pep, and then he became manager of Arsenal. How he got in the first place? Why we never gave Patrick Vieira a chance after that? I hope one day that Patrick Vieira will come to the club. I'm going to be honest. I think he's a better manager, but he's an Arsenal legend.
Here's the thing about Vieira. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. I'm sorry for interrupting you. I want to make sure you.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Yep. Xhaka has Arteta privilege. CEO has nailed it brilliantly. So, when it comes to Patrick Vieira, he's still finding his feet at Crystal Palace, let's not forget. So I'm not going to be one of those people who will big him up based on the fact that he has done quite well, better than expectations, supposedly, with Crystal Palace. Because he still, in some ways, has to prove himself. It's like no matter how well you might have done, you're only as good as your next game or so. And Ranieri found that out next season. After winning the championship, the Premiership with Leicester, they floundered and he ended up getting the sack. So no manager is safe. You still have to keep proving yourself. And so if Vieira continues to succeed with Crystal Palace, then we can consider him as an option to bring to the Arsenal later on. My only fear, though, Dave, is that when you have a situation where a former legend were to come back to the club as a manager, there'd be a lot more pressure on him, a lot more expectations on him to do well, and especially given that deep connection, that level of emotion might just be overriding. When you see how Lampard has done reasonably well with Everton after leaving Chelsea, and how I don't believe Gerrard will be going back to Liverpool anytime soon, but he's happy with Villa, I think there's a theory that maybe if you've achieved great success at one club, you should never consider coming back to that club as a manager, because the expectations will just be far too high. Even Klinsmann found that out with Bayern Munich in Germany.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. What club do you think has done the best in the Premier League transfer window this season so far? I think Spurs. As much as I hate to say it.
You know, what really makes that a kick in the teeth is that they've poached players who we should have signed.
Exactly.
We were interested in several players.
Oh.
I mean, Spence, he'd have been terrific for us as right back cover, competition for Tomiyasu.
Yeah.
Basuma, I know he had his court issue, but he would have also contributed to our midfield. I can't think of any other player that comes to my mind who they snapped up who would have been
They got the Croatian winger.
Perisic.
Yeah, Ivan Perisic. I mean, he's at the end of his career now, but the guy can play. I mean, he's still fit.
Oh, he can.
And they got Richarlison, right?
What?
Yeah, they got Richarlison from Everton.
Yeah, Richarlison. Yeah.
He's an animal, man.
Yeah. So you see, they've been serious in terms of making sure that they went for the players they wanted and what sort of a team they wanted. And when you have a manager like Antonio Conte, he's not faffing about, as you'd say back in England. No, he's not. He's not. He's not faffing about. He's not messing about. Whatever you want to call it. He wants the type. He gets the type of players he wants. He makes it clear what he wants, and the club goes and gets them. With Arteta, I mean, people would say
quick.
Yeah. Lampard will be sacked before November. That's a good call, Steve-O. You have a point. I think given that they've lost Tarkowski and Richarlison, their team could very well be under strength, so it will be a bit of a challenge. But and they haven't had the best preseason either, though. So yeah, so that is a possibility. But what I'm saying is that now back to Tottenham. We say back in England and back in London, shy children won't get sweets. If you see something you want, you got to go and get it. No issues. Del Boy goes fishing. And I told him, when you see a fish you want, you've got to go and get that fish. The first one to get it will get it. It's as simple as that. And I think Jez has now sort of come back to that, saying no past Arsenal legend should ever manage the club again. We've had Pat Rice as an assistant coach. Maybe as an assistant coach, I wouldn't mind them coming back. But as a manager, I'm glad that Jez agrees with me. Thanks a lot for that, sir. And so back to your question. Spurs have had a magnificent window, and they've shown why they are going to be taken a lot more seriously, why they're on the up, and why we're on the way down. And if people obviously honestly believe that we are going to do any better than them, based on the fact that our transfer window has not been up to scratch, then all I can say is that those people are living in cloud cuckoo land and need to be brought back down to earth ASAP.
Dreamers, man. There's a lot of them, in fairness, they haven't seen the team, I think, actually win anything. These are young guys, like teenagers. They haven't actually seen the team like we have with the doubles, the Invincibles, the Vieiras, the Patis, the Overmars, the Burkamp. I could go on and on and on. Yeah, they haven't
Yeah,
seen any of that. But the thing is, last season with fourth place, just to go back on that, yeah, we didn't have Europe. We weren't involved in Europe.
exactly.
No trips to Riga in Latvia, no trips to Russia, no trips to France. None of this, right? None of that extra tiredness. We still couldn't do it. This season we're back in Europe. I mean, I think we're going to be on a hiding to nothing in Europe, but that's going to be that extra couple of games. Guys are going to get injured. Fatigue is going to set in. How is our form going to be? The Premier League is our main focus. I mean, to finish in the top four again, to try to get something like that. I mean, if we had the top four trophies that we got under Wenger now, we wouldn't be complaining. I mean, because things have
Agreed.
slipped so much. We haven't won the league since 2004. Now that's 18 years. Can you believe that it's been 18? I can't, but when I say 18, I just honestly, I can't, it doesn't register. It's been 18 years. It's like we've been on a gradual slide. I mean, Wenger should have left long before he did, with all due respect to Arsene Wenger. I don't want to, that man, what he did for the club, but he should have left before he did, yeah, long before he did.
Oh
That
yeah,
set us back. That set us back. But we've been on a continuous decline. And I mean, the players that we had back then, I don't think we'll ever get players like that in at the club again. The guys we had back then, we had two World Cup winners in '98. They won the league with us, and they went off and they won the World Cup of France. Petit and Vieira. I mean, we will never have those kind of players again with such Burkamp, Henri, Lundberg. I mean, I could go on. Pires,
yeah.
Gilberto Silva. He came in and he did a job. Even Edu, he was decent. I mean, he had the knack of just putting the ball in the box. He was always in the right spot just to hammer it in. That was Edu. I mean, we had such fantastic players. But this season we have Europe. Last season we didn't. We have been very inactive in the transfer window, but it's true what you say about Conte. If you have the right manager in control, he's not faffing about. And he has that name. I want to go play for Antonio Conte. He has that
Agreed.
reputation. It
Agreed.
makes all the difference, man. And Spurs, with all due respect to them, they are, well, not league-wise, yeah. They haven't won too many league titles. I'm not making fun of them now, yeah. But they are a big team in England, let's face it. They have a big fan base. They have a bit of financial muscle. They have a good manager. They have some good players. They have a great stadium. I mean, Spurs are big enough, but they have completely outdone us in the transfer window, and not just us. I mean, Arteta, in his mind, what is he thinking when he looks across North London and he sees that happening with Antonio Conte and Spurs? He honestly maintains the confidence he has and believes that we are better than them, or we can do something in the season. You know what I mean? I mean, what is his mentality? What is his belief? Because when you look at the players they brought in and the way they are going, they're on the up. And then he looks at Liverpool, and then he looks at City. I mean, poor old Manchester United, they have their own problems. But Liverpool, City, Spurs, Chelsea, Arteta, like whenever we get into these games against them, we don't do it. We don't respond. So and like you said about Aubameyang, this is maybe going off the point a bit, but last season with Aubameyang, he put the onus on Eddie Nketiah's young shoulders. The Newcastle game, Nketiah was snuffed out completely. That wasn't his fault. He wasn't what was needed in that game at that time. And when we lost the game to Spurs, then came the Newcastle game. We still had a chance to get top four. So we lost the Spurs, but we still had the Newcastle game, and we couldn't do it then either. I'm the most positive person you could ever meet. I fear for us in the new season. I just can't see where I don't know, I can't see where the goals are going to come from. Creation wise, we're not that bad, but we're lacking. Defense, midfield, attack, where we can, like Zinchenko came in. I like that, yeah. We got a player. We also have Jesus. But one thing the team is missing is physicality. We've got no one in there that I'm not saying about breaking the guy's legs or play unfairly. I'm on about when the game gets tough against Liverpool, that 15, 20 minutes, when City, they start to get physical. Chelsea, we kind of fold a little bit. Not as bad as we used to before, but we have no physical players in there. Absolutely no physicality in the midfield. And you always need one. You need your Robertson. You need your Henderson. You need guys like that. You know what I mean? That get tight, that get tough. Yeah, I don't know what you think, man. We don't have a physical player in there.
Here's the thing: we do have one player who's supposed to be quite physical and lend that physicality. The only problem is that fella also is victim to the Arsenal injury curse, Thomas Partey. And
Yeah,
further to the point, he's also, like several of our squad members, going to be away for the World Cup in December. So I don't know if the Premier League will be ceasing its activity during that period. I hope it happens. But if it doesn't, then we're going to be in a situation where we will need some cover. And you're absolutely right. And this sort of segues into the issue of Martin Odegaard. Now, there's a part of me that does like what I see in him, and I do have a lot of there are a lot of people who agree to disagree with me on that, because he is capable of producing some moments of brilliance, but a lot of people have said that when it comes to being in the center of midfield, he's sort of a little bit too weak, if you will. He doesn't have that sort of heftiness or that physicality that is required, and so he doesn't really lend that much to the team in many ways. So he's done well in pre-season, and he does well in a few games with a few free kicks, but when it comes to actually bossing the midfield, that's not quite his forte. And so if Partey gets injured, as you've said, Dave, we don't really have anyone who can, really wrestle the game away, if you will. So yeah, we are lacking in that. And you've mentioned people like Henderson as well, who can at least, stand up to be counted and really boss things around. We don't have that. And don't even talk to me about the Swiss cheese full of holes, Granit Xhaka.
Or our midfield warrior, is it? Our midfield dynamo. Our midfield dynamo.
How that fella was ever made captain, I will never know. That guy will never be able to assert himself, and if he can't assert himself, he'll grab some other fella's neck, if you will, and make it even worse. Yeah. So, it segues back into the level of player recruitment and knowing the type of player you want. And it just seems to me, David, that Arteta believes his own hype about himself. He thinks he's a better manager than he really is. It's not that he has confidence in his squad necessarily, because the way they folded at the end of last season, I don't think any manager worth his salt would have confidence in that squad. But he believes in his own hype, if you will. He believes in his own ability as a manager when he has none. And that FA Cup has probably served to, give him a lot more credit than he actually deserves. Because again, it was Aubameyang and Martinez who helped him win that trophy, and he, jettisoned them not too long afterwards. It's amazing how quickly he dismantled that FA Cup winning team. But it really boils down to the fact that Arteta simply has no clue of the type of player who will really benefit the club, and wants to have some players who might be his yes men of sorts. And so there's like this question.
Yeah, like Xhaka.
Yeah. If you had to pick one, top 4 Europa League trophy, wonderful questions, Shiv, and here are my targets. Champions League or bust. That means we either compete for the title. If it means finishing in the top 4, that's fine. Not just aiming for the top 4, but competing for the league title. And we have to win the Europa League trophy. I wouldn't mind silverware. At least it'll get us back into the Champions League and at least continue the process. Because sometimes, given the way things are, you probably can't expect, you can't expect both the Premiership and the Europa League trophy. That would be ridiculous. But I do not want to have another FA Cup. I don't even want to have the League Cup. Yeah. That's just going to, paper over some cracks. And we don't need that. We need more than that. I'm sorry. We need more than that.
I would love to see the team finish in the top 4. I think that's going to be a real challenge. I think it's going to be a struggle. It all depends about Gabriel Jesus. I have a lot of faith in him. I think a hell of a lot of that player. I always liked him, and he caught my eye when he was playing for City. A bit like Riyad Mahrez, when he was at Leicester before he joined him. These two players, they always caught my eye. I thought a hell of a lot of Jesus. I think he can do a job for us, but he needs that supply. But he has Premier League experience, like I said, which is vital. So does Zinchenko. And they are young, they are fit, and they are strong. And Jesus is absolutely fearless. I mean, he is fearless. And he's got a real goal-scoring edge. The only reason he left Manchester City, people were saying, well, he's a steady reject. Just that the only reason he left is because a player like Haaland came. Haaland is an absolute. You see, he scored yesterday. Haaland is an absolute goal machine. This guy is just unplayable on his day. And he has a lot of good days. 364 good days out of 365. You see his goal scoring record, unbelievable. But I have a lot of faith in Jesus. I think he's a fantastic player.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
we'll have to have a look. We'll have to see.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that he's fantastic per se, because if you take a look at his goal scoring record, it's not really that much to shout about. And even for Brazil, he hasn't really pulled up any trees. But one thing in his favour, Dave, is that he has done well in Europe. He scored about 20 goals in the Champions League for Manchester City. So that sort of tells you in many ways that when the occasion is big, he can definitely, rise to it. But he's now coming into a team where, on the basis of preseason, I mean, the team has looked good, but, preseason is one thing. The actual league will be another. And it's going to be interesting to see how well he will do if that midfield is choked of any kind of influence by some of the more rough and tumble teams they'll come up against. I mean, that Chelsea team literally was like butter, and we were the knives who were slicing through them. Let me be very, very clear. And Edouard Mendy, who should have been named the best goalkeeper in the world ahead of Gianluigi Donnarumma, I thought he had a pretty poor game. I think he made a few decent saves, but his kicking was all over the place. And those are the things you got to keep into perspective. You can't just, big up the team based on a few good results. I mean, everyone, we all saw that Chelsea game near the end of that last season where we beat them 2-4 at Stamford Bridge, and everyone was saying, we're proving you wrong. We are going to win the Champions League. Enjoy your humble pie at the end of the season, boys. I mean, that team performed awfully that day. And he scored a couple of goals, had his ridiculous celebration. What do you do after that, for heaven's sake? Ridiculous. Quick and tricky on the ball, has that X factor to produce incredible moments. There is something to that, Shiv, and so Jesus could do well. I'm not going to discount him or dismiss him. I think he will do well, but the jury will be out on him and Zinchenko. But Zinchenko should also slot in. 25 years old, he's also quality. Those two signings have redeemed our transfer window somewhat, because the other signings that have come in don't really fill me with too much confidence. I did have some hope for Turner, but hasn't had the best of starts. He should be able to, pull his socks up and do better and get adapted well to the Premiership. But he, again, seems to be another guy who doesn't claim crosses. He prefers to punch them. And I don't know if he's very physically imposing.
Can be risky. Yeah. It's true what you said about the Chelsea match, though. Compare that now to our first game away to Palace. That's going to be a baptism of fire, because they have a very good team and a good manager. Palace are a serious team. I mean, they're completely underrated, in my opinion.
Yeah, you bet.
They are going to really, really put it up against us. If we don't give 110%, they're going to turn us over. It doesn't matter if we have Zinchenko or Jesus, because Palace as a unit, I mean, they have pace, they have power, and they have a game plan. And they stick to it. They're going to see the weakness. They'll pinpoint who's the weak link. They're going to run it down the channel. They're going to play their strongest player into that area. Even if they just take the foul, they get the free kick, they're going to build from there. It's all tactical with Vieira. It's all tactical, and they keep the pressure on. Palace put teams under incredible pressure. Didn't they? Wasn't it Palace or was it Brighton? Absolutely stuffed Manchester United. Well, there was a lot of teams stuffing Manchester United, but Palace for me are a real handful. They beat us 3-0. I mean, last season they stuffed us.
Agreed completely. I mean,
let's bear in mind, opening game, man. Telling you.
Yeah, agreed. But let's bear in mind, of course, that Palace being Palace, they will have a few inconsistencies, and they will have a lot more bad days.
I hope so.
Yeah, they will have a lot more bad days than we do. But, the Vieira factor also can't be discounted. He was a legend with us, of course, as a player. Yeah. He will also relish wanting to stick one.
Ben White, never heard of him. Ben White, never heard of him. Ben White, exactly. Who?
Please don't speak
Ben
about
White, never heard of him. You remember that comment, yeah? Who?
Yeah, listen, that comment really summed up how much that player culture of respect has devolved at Arsenal, really, because You join a club for the first time if you claim it's a real honor to join that club. You learn about the history of that club. You don't necessarily need to learn about the history of the late 80s and the early 90s and know who Rocky Rocastle, Ian Wright, and even Smudger Smith were.
Yeah,
But
Kevin Campbell, John Hartson.
If you don't want to know, don't even know, or even want to know who Patrick Vieira is, then I'm sorry, mate, but you either have no footballing respect, you either have no footballing knowledge. You don't even. It strikes me as being someone who doesn't even want to learn and evolve. It's disgusting. And he had his bad moments last season. With Saliba coming back in, there is some talk that he and Gabriel could be the first choice centre back pairing next season. So White's going to have a lot of work to do to get back into the team. And with the World Cup coming up, he won't want to stay out of Southgate's plans.
Yeah, absolutely. That's right. Yeah. But yeah, his treatment of Patrick Vieira that time was just, I mean, with his studio tattoos and his this and his that and his more, like his performances have been. Gabriel hasn't been too bad in the centre back position. White has been a little bit at 6s and 7s. I'm just going to take this opportunity to plug my channel. I will beg, borrow, and steal to make it, guys. I'm not embarrassed. My wife is always telling me not to, but I'm going to. If you want to donate to my channel, guys, I want to get myself a speaker. Yeah. I want to improve my sound. So if you want to donate to my channel, $1 or $2, this is for everybody watching. Yeah. Just click on the little dollar button at the bottom of the message bar. There's like a little dollar sign, a note. Click on that. And when the video is over, there's a little donate button next to the like and the like and the share button. There's a donate button. You can click on that too. $1, $2 maximum. I just want to get myself a speaker, put it back in, I have better sound for my podcast. That's basically it, guys. That's it done. Let's continue. Anytime you need to break off with Almani, if you have somewhere to go or something to do, let me know. Yeah, not a problem.
No, it's all right. Listen, I mean, like, I don't really have much to do anyway, and it's good to
it's
be
a Sunday.
here. Yeah, it is a Sunday. I mean, I do quite a bit of stuff, but not until later anyway. So you're all good. You're all good. Don't worry about it. Now, there's a question here in the box. Thoughts on Matt Turner? How good is he? I think I did mention, Shiv, that I was interested in how well he'd do because obviously there was some talk about how his goals against ratio and how wasn't really that good and how he's been conceding quite a lot more goals. In fact, Jez, Dell, and a few others, Kyle, I think, and Warren did a stream discussing that about how
Warren,
when it comes to his stats, he's not really the best, but I think Arsenal bought him based on that breakout season he had with the New England Revolution. I think he was the best goalkeeper in the MLS that time, although sadly the Revolution didn't win any silverware, from what I can remember. And he was also the starting goalkeeper of the US team, which won the CONCACAF Gold Cup. Now, of course, that's nothing really to shout about because you take a look at the list of winners, it's usually the USA and Mexico, with Canada coming in every now and then. But maybe there is some ability, and he does seem to do well against those opponents. But again, when it comes to playing in the Premiership, you're going to need to have a goalkeeper who's physically imposing, who can, impose himself well, catch crosses, deal with the defence, a bit like how Seaman used to do for Arsenal and how Schmeichel used to do for Manchester United. Those sort of keepers. But I think Turner seems to be another goalkeeper who isn't very physically imposing. He should have time to, pull his socks up and get his act together by the beginning of the season. He should be a good understudy for Ramsdale. But I actually would have preferred someone like Wayne Hennessy, who had 2 magnificent games for Wales in the World Cup qualifying playoffs, including that one against Ukraine. He's now, of course, gone to Nottingham Forest and might be joined by his mate Niles. He's gone there as a number 2, but the situation there is unique because Henderson signed on loan. He actually got injured in his preseason, so given Henderson's poor luck with injuries, Hennessy might get more games. Henderson's not going to play against Manchester United, so Hennessy should get 2 guaranteed games there. As long as he gets enough games to make sure that he's fit and fresh, he should go to the World Cup. Danny Ward won't be getting much at Leicester with Kasper Schmeichel still number 1. But I would have had Hennessy coming in, 6'5", fills the goal magnificently, also imposes himself.
Dominant, imposing figure. Yeah,
exactly. And
he can marshal the back 4.
Yeah, exactly. Ironically, I don't think I think Hennessy left Crystal Palace before Vieira joined, so Vieira wouldn't have known too much about him. And it might be facetious to sort of buy a player on the basis of those performances, but you don't thumb your nose at a player who's been capped over 100 times for his country, who has major tournament experience, who has played in an FA Cup final, experienced Premiership goalkeeper.
He ticks all the boxes, He ticks all the boxes.
He would have been good. And I think Chelsea wanted him as a reserve keeper. Thankfully, that didn't happen because I don't think he would have gotten any game time there. But, you know, again, it's all about wanting to, I mean, like thinking about what you need as a team from your players and thinking of what players you want to get and going for them. I don't even know what is in their mind. They see Turner's performances and think he's really good, but will he be good enough for the Premiership? The jury's still going to be out on him. So I think Turner should play in the Cups. We'll see how he does then. He can't be as bad as Rinison, but that's a pretty low bar that's being set right now, I have to say.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I don't know about the Arsenal Youth Academy. I don't know. There were certain players coming through. They tend to go into the youth team. We hear good things about them, and then they just seem to dissolve. Like you're talking about goalkeepers there. I see at Liverpool they have Caoimhín Kelleher, this Irish goalkeeper. He actually comes from the same part of Cork as me, but Caoimhín Kelleher, I don't know about the Arsenal, the academy. Like it's not all about like I think Alexander Arnold came from there, but it's like I don't know. We don't seem to have the players coming through. It's like they come to a level, they get talked about. It's on the Arsenal webpage, Arsenal.com. Okay, cool, but they never seem to kind of. I don't know. We don't seem to have the. I mean, like I think of like FC Basel in Switzerland. I used to live in Switzerland for a while. A good friend of mine over there is an FC Basel fan. 5 or 6 years ago, they had a good run in the Champions League. They were regularly in the Champions League. Since then, Bern have come to the fore in Switzerland. But when Basel were top, I mean, Granit Xhaka's brother Taulant, he plays for them, Xhaka's brother Taulant Xhaka, he plays for Basel. They even had a good youth setup. I mean, but Arsenal, we don't seem to do we have our finger on the pulse, or who is the actual youth coach? I mean, because for me, I should probably know these things, but we don't seem to have even one or two coming through that could help strengthen the squad. Or am I wrong? Just fatten up the numbers, quality.
Here's the thing, Dave. I mean, we did have a few youth guys that have come recently. I mean, you obviously will know about Joe Willock, right?
Of course.
He was brought into the team under Emery. I think he made I don't know if he played in the Europa League final in Baku. I don't remember if he did, but he was also touted as someone who could really do some good things for us, but he was never given any opportunities. And then he had a loan spell with Newcastle where he was scoring goals for fun, and they snapped him up. The big issue is that we either give our youth, either seem to give our youth players far too many opportunities to shine, or we don't give anywhere near enough. And maybe we seem to have a lot more of an expectation from them that they're going to go on to be the next Ashley Cole or Saka or Smith Rowe or whatever. And consequently, we're putting a lot of pressure on the shoulders of Saka and Smith Rowe, giving them the iconic 7 and 10 jerseys and expecting them to do the business. Saka has been burnt. He was burnt out last season, and I don't even know if we can expect him to maintain that level, especially if Southgate's going to keep picking him for England. And I guess it's just fair to say that when it comes to managing the youth, one reason why the likes of Kelleher and Alexander Arnold are being brought in successfully is that Klopp has maintained a good core of senior players coming in. And of course, before Roy Keane came to the picture at Manchester United, I mean, Irwin was still there. They were bringing in some players from their youth team, the famed class of '92, but they still had a strong core of experienced players who could guide them in.
Yeah, the seasoned pros.
Yeah, we don't seem to have that. Most of our senior-most players aren't what I would call professional by any stretch of the imagination, and they've got a lot of issues themselves. There's a saying that if you want to be a leader, you cannot demand of your comrades what you won't give yourself. And sadly, Our senior players just don't seem to be able to.
We have no Tony Adams, We have no Tony Adams.
No Tony Adams, no Patrick Vieira, not even the likes of a Martin Keown or a Steve Gould, or so many people in that team who would set the standard, set the example. All just completely gone. And I think when we lost that back four, when those back four left, and we also lost the Invincibles back four, that was when we started to lose a little bit of our spine, and we developed a bit of a soft underbelly. It was awful, absolutely awful.
The camaraderie, I remember thinking back to Adams now, for example, when Nicholas Anelka came into the team, or when Christopher Ray or some of the younger players came into the team, you could see that Tony Adams was respected by them on the field. And you could see that he was this kind of a driving force that all the younger players respected. You could see the way they reacted to each other. There was mutual respect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We lacked that. We definitely lacked that. You made a good point there, because if young players do come in, who are they going to learn from? Who are they going to look up to? I mean, Ben White, you know what I mean?
Oh, God. The day any youth player looks up to Ben White for inspiration will be the beginning of the end of that player's career, let me tell you right
now. Xhaka actually stands next to Arteta in training, and last season he was given certain players, Guendouzi included, I think, or whoever it was, he was giving them advice on how to play in their position. They don't need advice on how to play in their position. They need training. They need coaching from a guy that's actually trained to coach players. But they don't need advice from Granit Xhaka about how to play in midfield. He's giving them advice. You know what I mean? Because he's like Arteta's right-hand man. If he ever had the cheek to tell me how to play in midfield, come on, man. This kind of thing going on. I mean, I wouldn't listen to a word that comes out of that guy's mouth. If he told me how to play in midfield, I would do the opposite. Come on, this way he is rubbish.
Exactly. If Xhaka were successful at what he does, then you'd want to listen to him. But if he's not successful, it's like the blind leading the blind.
What's he talking about? You know what I mean? And he's giving advice to them on the training ground. If Cristiano Ronaldo walks up to me and he gives me advice, I'm going to say, fair enough, Cristiano. You know what I mean? He's had a career. Look at that player. But when the guy is a nothing player and nobody, come on, man. Honestly. Him and Paul Pogba, right? United got rid of their problem. We still have ours. And Elneny getting the captaincy, anyone but him. No disrespect to Elneny, he gives his heart and soul, and his heart's in the right place. But talent-wise, anyone but him to be given the captaincy. Why not Gabriel?
Yeah, here's
Elneny the captaincy. Elneny.
Yeah. The other contenders for the captaincy at Arsenal, Dave, are players who have issues themselves with their own spot in the team, and really, in my opinion, don't have the personality. I was eager to see. I was happy in many ways to see Odegaard given the captaincy. Don't get me wrong, because he has experience of having captaining his national team. It's amazing how many Xhaka's rubbish talent at Burnley. Listen, I think given the way he treated one of their players, I'm not too sure Burnley would want him. But it's amazing how many national captains we have playing in our team at a time. Partey with Ghana, Odegaard with Norway, Xhaka with Switzerland, and I'm pretty certain that there would be one or two others. I can't quite recall. We've even, of course, had Ryan with us, who was Aussie captain as well. He's still Aussie captain. But one of the things which I've learnt the hard way is that captaining your national team is one thing, captaining a club is another one, and especially in the Premiership, it's chalk and cheese. For Odegaard, and this is going to come to what I'm about to say about him, for him to say that the aim for Arsenal this season would be to finish in the top four and maybe win a trophy, I'm sorry, but that doesn't cut the mustard with me. Your aim, son, and I will say son because I'm much older than you, should be to seriously compete for the league title, regardless of where you finish. I mean, hopefully you should finish in the top four, but at least give us a sign that you're willing to compete and definitely win a trophy. The Europa League is still up for grabs. That can get you into the Champions League. And it's not even a question of, how he didn't litigate himself well, because if you are trusted with the responsibility of captaining the team, your manager has faith in you that you will know what you want. And for Odegaard to say what he said that day, I mean, I lost a great deal of respect for him. I think he's a talent, and I think it would be a good test for him to have the leadership, have the club captaincy. But for him to say that, I've lost respect for him, and now this season is going to be in many ways a point of no return for him, because if he doesn't, distinguish himself in that role, if he doesn't improve his own statistics, if he doesn't really make a good contribution to the team being successful, then we might have to consider whether he has a future as Arsenal captain or even at the club. And
yeah, it's true.
I have hope
It's
for
true.
him.
But the problem, the problem is too the mentality, like you said. I mean, I remember last season when Brighton were in the Premier League, yeah, and like Crystal Palace, and before the season, like when Vieira arrived at Crystal Palace, for an example, and Brighton before their season, they were asked what were their aims. They were talking about the challenge for the league. Now, this is Brighton and Crystal Palace. Arsenal, it's like we're afraid to say the words. It's like we get a nosebleed when we cross the halfway line. I mean, the season is 2 weeks away. We should go all out and give it absolutely everything for the 9 months and see how we fare. But at least a bit of belief. At least a bit of belief. I mean, Liverpool are looking sharp. Okay, they have Núñez. Manchester City have Haaland. Manchester City, for me, are going to win the league. That's my opinion. We should go all out, man.
Weren't we supposed to be interested in Darwin Núñez, by the way? I think we were supposed to go for
Yeah, we're being linked with everyone. Sure, we have a hope of getting him. And he's a real good goal scorer. I mean, we need a player like Jota. We've no one like Diego Jota. I don't know. Do you remember his goals against Arsenal in the Carabao Cup? Yeah, I think he scored in the Carabao Cup, maybe in the league and Anfield too. But I don't know if you remember him, but he is a pure goal poacher. I mean, the guy is a goal scorer. We have no one like him that's actually like. I remember when Christopher Ray came into the team. I'm going back a long time ago, no, Manny, but I'm sure you remember Christopher Ray. When he came into the team, he scored like 7 goals. I think he scored 3 in a row towards the end of the season. We beat Bolton 1-0. We beat Derby 1-0. Manu Petit scored. We've no one that's actually just a finisher, a fox in the box. You know what I mean? 6-yard player.
Yeah,
we've no one that can actually just put the ball in, man. It doesn't have to be pretty. Put the ball over the line.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. We let our fox in the box go to Barcelona. And it's funny how you speak about a fox in the box. You do remember that Wenger signed Francis Jeffers to perform that role, yeah?
Oh, yeah. Terrible.
Christ alive. And I don't know if Steve-O is with us. I think finally poor chap might have gone to sleep. But he, along with a few others, and I think Jez also has been quite vocal in this regard, they were thinking that Tony from Brentford would also be a good choice to join the club. Someone who, as you said, isn't really pretty to look at, but he can definitely get you goals. And
proven.
I mean, if you take a look at Smudger Smith, he wasn't necessarily the best looking striker, but he got goals for us, and he'll always and forever be a big part of that successful phase of our club. So someone like Tony, I wasn't keen on him earlier, but I've come around, and that's and that's the beauty of it. You keep an open mind to just reconsider your opinions and say, I was wrong. It could be useful. Cheesed off at the way we treated Guendouzi, a fine player, what we need in our midfield. Yeah, we spoke about this, Shiv. It's a failure of man management. Someone had to, really be on his case and make sure that he maintained that level of discipline. Instead, it was more retroactive punishment, and I think it was just, thrown to the wolves a little bit.
Yeah, it was personal as well. It was personal with Arteta. He made it personal. You know what I mean? It was. He just
exactly.
He's older than Guendouzi. I mean, a bit of maturity on his part might have, extended the hand of friendship. Might have eased things down a bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
That's all I'm saying. I have to work with people that I don't necessarily like, but I show them a modicum of respect, and they respond. You know what I mean? It's
agreed.
Anyway,
I mean,
I like the translation of the. I like the translation you put here. Anyway, he was cheesed off.
Because
keep it PG, guys.
No. Here's the thing, because when it comes to channels being monetized, blue language will always be a bit of a factor in some videos not getting the monetary
like
rewards
a faux
you'd
pas,
like. So I want to
Not
make
so.
sure that that mistake doesn't happen. And it's like having to think beforehand. You put a lot of work into this, Dave, and I don't want to see that work.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I really, the
And
last year and a half, I jacked it up. I had to. If anybody wants any advice on how to get 1,000 subscribers legally, guys, all my subscribers, my 1,300 are people. If anybody wants any advice on how to do that, ever, ask me in private, and I'll let you know how I did it. But there's only one way, guys, and it's hard work.
yeah,
But you can
I've
get
been
there.
told that I've been told that I need to start a video of my a channel of my own, and I can tell you that it's a rat race, really. But if I get some time,
sorry to cut across you, man, but I was actually just gonna say to you, like, from the moment you came on this stream, the way you talk about football, your knowledge, the way you're articulate in your conversation, I was actually going to say, you don't have a channel, right? But you definitely have a noose. There's definitely some kind of, you have something, man. I'm telling you. And I'm not a guy to say what people want to hear. Yeah, I'm Irish. We talk straight. You definitely have something, man. I mean, definitely. I think a channel would be good for you because you're definitely articulate, man. You're educated in the ways of Arsenal Football Club, in football. You're mature. You construct the conversation correctly. It's entertaining. I don't know. You have an entertaining way about you. I don't know. Do you realize that? You should think about it. And your English, of course, is absolutely perfect. I mean, you're articulate. You know what I mean? You get your point across in a way that's, you should definitely think about it if you had the time, man. If you had the time.
Yeah, if I get the time. And here's the thing. I mean, when you don't go to games like I did, I never went to any games when I was a youngster. So when you don't go to games, you pretty much depend on the telly for all your sporting pleasure. And I grew up watching the likes of Ian St. John and Jimmy Greaves on ITV. Satan Greaves, of course. Those two legends, may God rest their souls, they were the ones who would provide a lot in terms of proper analysis. And, I'm sure that, I mean, obviously you lived in Ireland, so you don't get ITV over there. It would be RTE for sports, and I don't know what other channels you get.
We have ITV, and we have obviously I'm in London, but we have ITV, we have Channel 4, we have BBC, we have all of them.
Oh, but back then, did you have them as well?
Oh, you mean back then?
No.
When would that have been? The 80s?
Yeah, I'm talking about the late 80s, early 90s, because I'm pretty certain that maybe you would have had the BBC, but it was probably RTE.
Maybe not ITV or Channel 4, but we had BBC. No, maybe not. I thought you meant no, sorry. Yeah, that's right. That's right. It took a while.
Yeah, but back then, BBC and ITV were the it channels for football. It would be Grandstand on
Grandstand,
Saturday, and
Football Focus.
At the very end with either Wilson or Lynham or
Football Focus, and then of course Match of the Day is.
Yeah, and then ITV would have Match of the Day with Rosie Hull and Wellesby and a few other people.
Legendary.
Brian Moore commentating. That was it, and you sort of I guess I sort of picked up those tips from them really, and I always fancied myself as someone who could go on that on television and talk a lot, but I guess my issue as well, Dave, is that I like to float around, and one of the reasons why I don't really have much of a channel. Yeah, we're going to talk about that as well. Is that I think Kenny said it when he went on a video with the Aussie Goon and a few others. It's difficult to try and get your point across. You also have to make sure that you've got a good network who can subscribe immediately, and they can also spread the word. But you've also got to be competent yesterday. And I want to make sure that when I talk about something, I have my facts correct, you see.
Yes.
And I can't just come out here all buff and bluster and utter such bollocks, if you will. So I have to make sure that I'm well prepared for everything. And I guess, maybe it's a question of me being a little bit too self-conscious and not having that sort of, belief in myself. Of that, not having that confidence in myself, rather. You see, now I'm stammering a little bit because sometimes I think of something, I don't know if that's the correct word, and I end up stammering a bit. Maybe I need to just cool down a bit. I don't know, but look, I'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Yeah, but you come across the opposite. Then you come across the opposite of that. You come across as confident. You know what you're talking about, and yeah, you're better than most. I'll be honest.
I appreciate that. Thanks a lot, man.
I'm being
And
honest with you now. I'm not just telling you what you
no, no,
want to
no,
hear.
no,
I'm being
I
honest with
get
you.
that. I get that. I really do. I really do. And
You come across as being confident, and you
yeah,
are clued into what's happening at the club. I mean, we're talking about
yeah,
Arsenal, an Arsenal Football Club channel.
yeah.
You are
And
clued
so,
into what's happening at the club. You've got your finger on the pulse,
yeah. I mean,
and
it's easy to have
you have the benefit of hindsight as 2020. You remember
yeah,
back in the day, and you
exactly.
remember now.
It's easy. It's easy to have your finger on
You
the
know.
pulse right now, though, because
Mm,
obviously with the internet and 24-hour news, you can't not
mm,
have your finger on the pulse of the club, what's going
mm,
on. And yeah, Rafinha being a new El Clasico hero, joining in the ranks of Aubameyang. It's as if what the way Barcelona are, getting some players. They're going on a leap of faith. They're finding their way to get the money and get the players they want, and the players are also responding. I think maybe that's the pull that Barcelona have, and they've also got the recent history of winning quite a few Champions League titles when
mm.
Messi was back at the club. Maybe they want to get back
Yeah,
to
of
that
course.
history
Yeah.
with Xavi now at the helm. And yeah, thanks a lot for that compliment, Shiv. But let me tell you something. Most of those clowns at AFTV are, for want of a better word, bottom feeders. And you think of the likes of Ty and Julian. I don't like dropping names, but I have to, call it out. You hear them speak, it's just utter nonsense. Now, there is one point I want to talk about, and that talks about, his about Arteta's management, about how he treats the players.
Mm,
There was
mm.
a video which was released by Arsenal on YouTube, and I think the short of that is there on YouTube as well, where Arteta meets Zinchenko, they share an embrace, and Arteta says, "Man, that shirt looks good on you." I mean,
Yeah,
come
yeah.
on. He's played for Manchester City in the Champions League. They've had an all-black kit before. So for Arteta to say that, I mean, that was just stupid, really. And um,
Yeah.
we've had a gentleman named Darren Sullivan come on a few streams. I think Darren has come on some of these streams a few times. I think I'm not too sure, but he and I chat quite regularly as well. And he noted again that that was another sign that as a manager, Arteta was trying to get a little bit too close to his players, and that's not the way to do it. You
Mm.
don't see any managers with the level of authority and the clout that the likes of Ferguson or Wenger or even Graham have do that with their players. You want to have a warm handshake? Fine by me. But yeah, we'll talk about that as well, but yeah, like I said, a warm handshake would suffice. You don't go ahead embracing a player like that. And it's not like Arteta and Zinchenko were teammates at Manchester City. Arteta was a coach, for heaven's sake. So when you are at that level, you cannot bring
There
yourself
needs to
down.
be a bit of space between
Agreed.
uh,
There has to be that level
respect
of
and a bit of discipline and a bit of fear as well. And it needs to be.
agreed, agreed, agreed.
Yeah,
And
Klopp is like this in front of the cameras. Yeah, sorry to cut across you, but Klopp is like that in front of the cameras with the players. But in the changing room, I'd say he'd take the head clean off his shoulders. That's Klopp. You know what I mean?
okay, I
But you
mean,
have to be. He's hogging
you
and he's
know,
this, but he's tough.
yeah, whatever
He's
works. I
tough.
mean, but then you
He's
can't
tough.
allow yourself to get too close to anyone. I mean,
Mm,
I'm not
mm.
really personally of that in favor of that either, where you really roll out the red carpet to welcome a player and then just take away his mobile phone afterwards. So
Yeah.
con man turned con man, nailed it right there, Shiv. And yeah,
Putting out the
so
cones.
you know, be friendly, be welcoming, but keep your distance for heaven's sake.
Mm.
And if Arteta and Zinchenko had been teammates as players, then maybe you could understand it. But even then, to be all over the guy like a cheap suit, as Darren said, was just utterly stupid. And there's a theory to this, mind you, Dave. It's that you take a look at Arteta, he never really had the best playing career, and it wasn't too long ago that he retired. You also see some videos where Arteta takes part in the training sessions with some of the players and more than holds his own. Yeah, I think when it comes to that sort of a situation where you have that type of manager, he also wants to feel he feels that he has to prove that he still has the talent and that he can still play and mix it with the
Mm.
boys. And you don't see someone like Vieira doing that because Vieira's won it all at club and international level, so he knows that his
Yeah,
playing days are long
his
gone.
reputation is solidified as well. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So when you have someone
Solidified
like
now.
Arteta who won a couple of FA Cups with us, I think he was captain for one of our wins, if I remember correctly. you know, he wasn't bad, but he definitely wasn't good. And you get a feeling that those players suddenly start to feel as though they have to prove themselves as players. They want to show the players how it's done, and
Yeah,
that can either increase the level of respect that the players have for you, or it can make the players think, Jesus Christ, this bloke's such a tosser. And someone who reminds me of
yeah.
that is Glenn Hoddle with England, because that bloke was a talent. I mean, I shouldn't really speak too highly about him given his Tottenham.
Unbelievable player. Unbelievable player.
Yeah, but he was a fine player for Tottenham, and
Great
obviously
player.
he went to France and went on to play under Arsene at Monaco, if I'm not wrong. So there, his talents were appreciated, but then he came back, obviously near the end of his career, to England. As late as 96 or 95, I forget the year, he even came on when he was player manager of Chelsea for an FA Cup final as a substitute. So he could
Yeah.
still play then. And then not long afterwards, he replaced Terry Venables as England coach. So he wasn't far off removed from playing, and he wanted to prove that he could still play. And his England career, in many ways, was a case of what might have been, because he only earned something like about 50 caps, and then he was phased out of the team after that disastrous Euro '88 tournament, where, of course, England lost to your boys, the Republic of Ireland, without scoring that winner under Jack Charlton. Mick McCarthy also was in that team. Frank Stapleton was captain.
That was our first European championship.
Oh yeah, your first tournament in general, and you boys did well. You were in a group. Both of us were in a group where we had Holland and the USSR. They both reached the final, and so for you held your own against those boys. I mean, you had someone like Roy Keane saying, "There's no reason to celebrate," but I'm sorry, you gave it as good as you got.
Scored against the Dutch, yeah.
And when we came with the reputation that we had. We were favourites to win, and we, suffered a hiding and then some. But after that tournament, the likes of Hoddle, Kenny Sansom, Viv Anderson, and a few others got phased out. So Hoddle obviously felt as though he had been shortchanged, never given his chances. He never really was able to, get the adulation that he wanted. Yeah. And of course, it was Paul Gascoigne who took his place in the centre of midfield and went on to star in Italia '90. So obviously there was going to be that clash between the two of them in some ways. I mean, that's a theory.
Of course, as player and manager.
Yeah, it might not be off the mark necessarily. I mean, Hoddle did make it clear that he wanted to support Gascoigne in any way he could, but then when that huge flare-up happened, he just put paid to everything. But Hoddle wanted to prove that he could still play. He still had it. And on many occasions during training, he'd be the one delivering the crosses in. So it's either a case of trying to really show people how it's done and show people you can still do it and show and you can still do it and it can inspire awe. But then if you show up your players like that, I mean, it can make your players disrespect you. You sometimes have to keep a little bit of distance, and that was one of the biggest risks when it came to Hoddle becoming England manager after Terry Venables left. It's like you have to make sure that you are secure enough that you've already done what you wanted to do as a player. You have nothing to prove to anyone. And you've got to maintain that sort of a distance. Even when Mick McCarthy came and managed Ireland, mind you, he still had a few Italia '90 guys in that squad at the time. But he wasn't going to be all immediately touchy-feely. In fact, he did mention to Eamon Dunphy that he wanted to phase out a few of those Italia '90 and even Euro '88 stars. It was difficult because, as he said, they were his mates and his teammates, but that was because he wanted to adopt a new style and move away from Jack Charlton's style. So, but he did have some pretty cordial relations with a lot of the players. He kept the likes of Cascarino and Niall Quinn and Staunton on until the late '90s. Staunton and Quinn also went on to play.
The younger players liked him too, like Phil Babb, Jason McAteer. There was a lot of young players in that,
Yeah, agreed. So
Roy Keane did not like him.
No, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that more in a separate video maybe, and maybe you, Del, Kyle, and a few others can have your say on that. But, he was in some ways one of the boys, but people also knew where they stood with him, given that he was the manager, and he also was responsible in many ways for trying to change the culture and sort of move away from the Jack Charlton phase. So there was that balance there. But with Arteta, I don't see that. I don't see a manager who is able to be secure in himself, given the career that he had, given he probably feels as though he had his best years taken away from him and he should have had a lot more. He seems to be so insecure to me, and that's why he should have served his apprenticeship at clubs at a more lower level where he could at least, feel his way in and, just start to assert himself. And once he gets a little bit more clout, if you will, then come higher up the ladder. But for him to come to Arsenal, I mean, that was a recipe for disaster. Even, given the poor last few years of Wenger and how Emery started to decline in the second season, we still should have had an experienced manager. If Ancelotti had come in, we would have been set. Seriously. That man.
Yeah, we would have been. That's what we needed. Yeah? That's what the club needed. I mean, we need somebody with experience that is just a quality manager. And like you said, that is not insecure, that has his own ideas, and that knows how to go from the first step with the team, the first day meeting the team, to the second step, to the first day of the season, to the end of the season. He's got it all laid out. He has a plan, and he knows how to get the best out of players, and he knows how to get the best out of himself. And he knows what he's thinking. Like some of Arteta's decisions, baffling. I mean, we said about the Aubameyang in the final, taking him off just after he hit the post twice, just when he was getting into his rhythm in the last 10, 12 minutes, taking him off and putting on Willian. I mean, that is something that, that was just baffling.
It was sacrilege, Dave, and that's a sackable offence. Bringing on that guy who you bought for such an exorbitant sum of money, who ended up letting you down more often than not, it was disgraceful. And I think that, more than anything else, was the beginning of the end of Aubameyang's relationship with.
And whenever did the club start actually buying players that were kind of on the downward spiral of their careers? Okay, respect David Luiz. He gave us all when he was at the club. I actually have a bit of time for David Luiz. Willian never turned up. Why did we start taking these bargain basement players that were at the Chelsea? Let them go because they obviously didn't realize they weren't any good anymore, and we were taking them. But back in the day when we were giving players to United, we gave them Van Persie, we gave them Sanchez. You know what I mean? Okay, Sanchez had an absolute nightmare, but Van Persie went on and he won the league, and he came back to the Emirates and he haunted us. You know what I mean? He returned. He made Thomas Vermaelen look second rate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And Thomas Vermaelen is an international. But I mean, we were giving away our best players. I remember Piers Morgan absolutely lost the plot when he heard that we had given Van Persie to United. He lost the plot. Say what you want about Piers Morgan, but I will always think well of him for that. He spoke honestly about it. Why did we give one of our rivals Van Persie? He even said it. Alex Ferguson would never do that. He would never give Liverpool Wayne Rooney. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, you talk about Ferguson, though. He did all Ince to leave the club to go to Inter Milan, and then Ince went on to came back to the Premiership with Liverpool. I believe they played Manchester United. I don't recollect whether it might have been at Anfield, I think. Yeah, it was at Anfield. And Ince scored the equalising goal in a 2-2 draw. And Ferguson lost it. He called Ince effing big-time Charlie. So even he's made his mistakes. He's let some players...
True, that's true.
But the thing is that when Ferguson lets players go, they either cross him or they're starting to decline. And, he let Mark Hughes go as well to Chelsea when he was still doing well. And Hughes actually went on to have another purple patch at Chelsea, winning silverware there before winding down his career with
he's very good,
Southampton and Blackburn Rovers. So all managers make mistakes. All managers end up letting players go who they wish they hadn't let go. But then with Arteta, you see, that just goes back to him. He doesn't have that security. He doesn't have that clout. He doesn't have that level of authority. And the more you see the way he goes about things, the more you realize it's just not the best fit for a club of Arsenal stature. By all means, let him join a lower league team, even a Champions League team, a championship team, if you want him to get that experience. But with Arsenal, no, we should have had the best. And I think that's also reflective of the fact that any good manager worth his salt would not want to come to Arsenal if it means having to answer to Stan Kroenke.
Yeah.
Now, from
absolutely,
as a change of pace, I think somebody mentioned in the chat that the way Barcelona hijacked that Koundé deal from Chelsea is going to be hysterical is the word you're looking for, Joel. And it's ironic because we didn't even know how Barca would pay for that. And they somehow come up with a scheme by which they could pay for players and get them all. I mean, Chelsea are a club on the up with their own silverware, but Barcelona are just above Chelsea. They still have that pull. No matter how much money they lose, they're still going to want to have players coming to play for them, and that's just the way it is. And that's how they're able to make things work. And with a good manager like Xavi, who's at least served his apprenticeship back in Qatar before coming back to Barcelona, he said the right things. He's hit the ground running, and the way he's spoken to Gerard Piqué is indicative of a person who is also not willing to operate on sentiment. Because bear in mind, Piqué and Xavi, and I think also Busquets, they were teammates in that Spanish World Cup winning team. And Piqué and Busquets have obviously been together, as teammates since they were children.
He's not letting his heart rule his head. Yeah, he's not letting his heart rule his head.
Exactly.
So he's doing what's best for the team.
Yeah. So there's no talk of sentiment. No talk. No nothing. That's the way Mick McCarthy did things with Ireland. I know people will not really remember him very fondly for obvious reasons, but he did a good job with Ireland, and he never should have been shunted aside in favour of
limited players as well. Apart from Keane, he had limited players. Not as good as Jack had. Jack had a much better.
Yeah.
Jack had better players.
There were some good players in that Irish team. I mean, obviously, let's not
Robbie
forget
Keane, Damien Duff. Yeah.
Yeah, and Paul McGrath and Dennis Irwin was still playing. Cascarino was still there. So I think McCarthy had his ideas. He had his way of going about things. He had a sense of security, but he also was not going to, be that type of completely standoffish manager who wouldn't have a crack with the boys. I mean, he was still one of the boys, but the boys also knew where they stood with him, and that was what he did well. Arteta just doesn't really have that ability with him. And I really, really cannot see the club progressing here. Conte's available with Spurs. Willian still gives nightmares. Shiv, if I never see or hear Willian Borges again, it will be too soon.
Oh man, why did we take that player? I mean, in all honesty, in all fairness, I mean, he was completely lost when he came to the club, and he wasn't the same player as before. When he was at Chelsea, he was decent enough. Why were we settling for these kind of I was working with a Chelsea fan. I was working last year in West London, and with a Chelsea fan, unfortunately, we were watching the European games and watching Arsenal get dismantled. And he said that Willian was Agent Willian and David Luiz was Agent Luiz. Chelsea players sent by Chelsea to infiltrate Arsenal and just play awful for us, just to bring the club further down. But he had a point. I mean, the way we just kept taking the players that they no longer wanted. And what had we become? Like Chelsea have had their own problems recently. The whole Roman Abramovich. I'm not going to get into that side of things because they probably get banned off YouTube. But now they're back. Okay, yesterday they got a wake-up call. That's a wake-up call for Tuchel. It's no more. You can see Chelsea will be doing better than that when the Premier League starts. That's just a wake-up call, man. He's fired up. He's angry, and it's the best thing that could have happened to them. It's the best thing that could have happened because the players and him have had a wake-up call. And he's fired up now. Wait till they get back to the training ground. Oh, my God. God help those players.
Oh, yeah. Hell hath no fury.
It's the best thing that could have happened, man. It's the best thing that could have happened to Chelsea. Season's around the corner. Put everyone back in their place. You know what I mean? They've won nothing. They've won nothing yet.
It also should be the best thing that'll happen to Edouard Mendy as well, because he's now been taken down a peg and he's been made to realise that he also has some, deficiencies to his game that he needs to iron out. And
keep everyone on their toes.
With Arsenal, we've been here before. How many times have we had an amazing pre-season where we win the Emirates Cup? We do extremely well against some really good top quality teams, only to just flatter to deceive when it matters.
Capitulate.
Pre-season means nothing. It's an opportunity to get some minutes under your belt, shake off some post-season rust, get yourself tuned in. That's all it is. If people honestly believe that we are set for big things based on that, they need a wake-up call, seriously.
We're going to do the treble. We're going to do Europa League. We're going to win the league, and we're going to win the FA Cup. Yeah. We're going to do the treble.
No.
We'll have the league wrapped up before January.
You just know that they're going to make another stupid song about that. And if I hear that song, if I hear anyone singing that song, I'm going to tear that bugger in you. Seriously.
The song is actually terrible. That's the thing.
Ugh.
Yeah. My wife is not an Arsenal fan, but she heard the song once, and she said it's awful. Just the song is bad. The song is bad.
Says it all. Says it all. Says it all.
Yeah.
Says it all.
I'm gonna.
If a non-football fan thinks it's absolutely bad, that says it all, really.
She never heard it before. She just went.
Mm-hmm.
How bad is that? Like, it's an awful song.
Yeah.
But where do you? Yeah. I'm going to wrap up the stream, but I would just like to know the last 10 minutes just so we can talk. Where do you think we're going to finish the season? I mean, realistically, do you think top 4 is a possibility? How do you see the season going for us? I mean, what do you think is going to happen?
This season, Dave, is going to be very interesting because in addition to having the added burden of playing in Europe, we've also got the World Cup to deal with. And the fact that we've got so many internationals as well as international captains in our squad means that we're going to be in a situation where we'll have players away. Now, I hope and pray. I think the Premiership will probably be. I think that they'll stop playing during that time because there will be that window to make sure that the World Cup goes ahead. But it could mean that they end up having a more congested, festive schedule. I don't know how that works. So we stand to be affected. And my prediction is we will not finish in the top 4. If we somehow manage to scrape into the European places, 5th, 6th, or 7th, I think 7th gets you into the Conference League. Yeah. That's probably as good as it will get. Europa League, I hope we get to the semi-finals, but my gut tells me that we'll probably only make the quarterfinals before suffering an embarrassing defeat.
Yeah.
If we're lucky, we could have a domestic run, but my targets are simple: Champions League or bust. And that means competing for the league. If it means finishing in the top 4, fine. Or better still, winning the Europa League, getting some silverware, and at least, showing some of the fans that you are capable.
We can get back to a certain level, level.
I do not want another FA Cup. I don't want the League Cup. That's just going to paper over cracks. It's going to get us back into the Europa League again, and the same cycle goes on again and again and again. Yeah. I don't want that. But I don't have high hopes for the season. Go ahead.
And what do you think about Mikel Arteta? Do you think if we don't do well this season that he could possibly be shown the door, or you think he's fixed? You think he's going to be there for
I hope he gets shown the door. I hope that if results do get bad enough and we fail to achieve any respectable targets, that he will be shown the door. Preferably, mind you, he should fall on his sword and resign if he can't take the club any further. But I don't see him as having that level of integrity to do that. I don't even know if the club would want to do that because they're in that fix, as you would say. But time will tell. Time will tell. And I've often said that the best way to make sure that change will arrive is that the fans start to unite and realize that what's happening right now is not good enough. It happened before under Arsene Wenger, and it will happen again under Mikel Arteta. The only issue I have is when will it happen? And it has to happen sooner rather than later.
It's hard to believe, yeah. Like, I'm trying to think now in hindsight, but it's hard to believe last season. This time last year, the 12 months has gone so fast. This time last season, we were waiting for the league to start. There was an inevitability about it. It was just going to kind of, we were going to meander and see what happens. And this season, it has the same kind of feeling about it. I know there's no kind of, the worst thing you could do, and I am such an optimistic person now. I'm positivity throughout my whole life in good and bad times. But the worst thing you could do is have too many expectations with Arsenal. That's all I'm going to say. For the real fans out there, for the people that love the club, people like myself, people like Manny, lifelong Arsenal fans, people like Del Boy, people like Arsenal Alex, even Warren, even though he's not talking to me anymore, people like Warren from Warren's Team Talk, die-hard fans, we know different. But the worst thing you could do is get yourself carried away with the team. I don't want to be negative, but they let you down more times than not. I know only one team can win the league each season. Look, I'm not expecting a miracle. We're up against it, yeah. The other teams have gone ahead of us. It's not like it used to be before with Arsenal Football Club. We've 13 leagues, but the last one was in 2004. Football has changed, but at least for the team to be competitive, Manny. I know
Oh,
only
yeah.
one team can win the league, but real fans, I just wouldn't get carried away. All the real fans watching us now, not the plastic fans, not the Arteta ins, not the Arteta fanboys, the real fans. Listen to what I'm saying to you guys. Don't get too worked up about it because you'll be let down a little bit, I think, at points of the season. It's just the way it is. But at least if we go all out for it, but you know, you have to look after your own. You know what I mean, man.
I do.
Arteta will always flatter to deceive. It's always going to
Yes.
be like that with him. He's only in the manager's role. He's only still holding on to his job because he is a yes man for Cronky and for the lads, and because he'll work on a budget. We need to sell players to buy players. Now we need to sell players if we want to get Tielemans. I mean, who are we going to sell? The golden boy, Granny Xhaka? Come on, like things have been run a bit. We're always sailing close to the wind with our signings. We never do quite enough in the transfer window. I don't know, does Arteta actually pinpoint the areas that need to be strengthened? Aubameyang left, he brought in Jesus. I could tell you we needed another striker to come in. We lost Aubameyang and Lacazette. But does he actually pinpoint the areas that need, like, does he think that we don't have a problem in the midfield and the defence? Huge problems there.
Yeah, the big problem with Jesus as well, Dave, is that he's more of a replacement for Lacazette, who's just left.
Yeah.
The number 9 striker,
Yeah.
Jesus has got the number 9 jersey. He can
Yeah.
hold up and play. What Aubameyang was a poacher, that fox in the box. That typical type of centre forward who would, come in and score. Maybe he'd be a miss, but more often than not, he'd be a hit. We don't have that. We just don't. We just weren't able to get someone like that. And again, it talks about it's footballing ignorance of the worst possible kind. If you lose a player who's that good, you've got to get a like for like. You've got to at least have the common sense to know that when you let someone like that go, you've got to get someone who will lend more than that. And he wanted to keep Lacazette on because of his work rate. Work rate doesn't get you goals, mate. I'm sorry, it doesn't do that. And obviously, Lacazette was dropped near the end of the season, and Nketiah was brought in. He'll score a few goals in a few games, do that celebration, and then go missing for the rest of the season. And for that, he gets the number 14 jersey and a new 5-year deal.
People are angry about yeah.
Yeah, I would like to see Arteta switch to a 4-4-2, maybe, to sort of provide some more strength in the midfield, perhaps, because the 4-3-3
a bit more solid, yeah. 2 banks of 4.
Yeah, because those types of formations, we don't seem to have that physicality to make that work. So at least if you have a 4-4-2, at least it might give you some impression that you're packing the midfield a little bit, and you could at least get some sense of cohesion.
That protection when we're trying to defend against it, when we're on the back foot.
This is where Zinchenko could come in. He's been signed as competition for Kieran Tierney, yeah, but because of his versatility, there has been talk about him possibly coming into the midfield and adding a little bit of cohesion if Tierney is able to recover from his injury. Sadly, Tierney hasn't played any preseason minutes, never mind games. So I'm worried about him, and this could very well be his last season. But if he can come back into the team and prove his fitness, he and Zinchenko being in the team could definitely lend a little bit more in terms of cohesion. Tierney can, come bomb down the wing again. Zinchenko can also perform his role. And, of course, worst case scenario, Zinchenko can come in at left back the way it was supposed to be. So that's an example of how a signing can work. And yet he and Jesus were the only two redeeming features of that transfer window. And what you've said there about getting the hopes up, we've been through all of this before. You have a good preseason, you get your hopes up. Even during the season, you have an amazing run of form which gets you near the top, and then you start to fade away. It's happened too many times under Wenger. We've been here before, and it's marginally worse now under Arteta, I would say. And Shiv is correct. We still need a right back. And that segues into another issue with Ainsley Maitland-Niles.
Who hasn't been the answer, unfortunately. Nothing against him.
Yeah. So without Tom, Bellerin's still at the club. He wants to leave, and yet Arteta wants to keep him on. Make it make sense. And Ainsley could perform a role as a good right-back cover, but there has been talk about him having another falling out with Arteta. He could be on his way to Nottingham Forest. So you just don't seem to know if Arteta has any idea of what to do. Does he have any control over things? Does he truly have the respect of the players in the squad? it's a shambles, man. It really is. And
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
really
and the more we actually delve into it, these are serious problems. Yeah, the underlying problems are very serious. I mean, it's not like,
oh yeah,
you buy this player, you buy that player, you buy this player. The whole core, the whole management situation, the way these players are dealt with, and the formation, the tactics, there seems to be like a complete lack of, yeah, like you said, cohesion.
yeah.
If Zinchenko comes into the midfield, but look, I'm going to wrap it up there, Manny. I just want to thank you very much for coming on the live stream. You were,
Yeah.
I have to say, by far the most constructive um, person I've had on, with your insight into Arsenal Football Club. Um, Everything you have to say, I mean, it's been a pleasure, and I mean that.
Thanks,
You
mate.
know football, my friend. Don't anybody ever tell you that you don't know football.
Yeah.
All right, so you
I
can
mean,
refer them back to me, and I'll tell them that you do know football. But yeah, I just want to
okay,
thank you very much for coming on. Yeah, a
you're
pleasure.
welcome.
If you ever do your own channel, man, give it some consideration if you have the time. Maybe when you come back to London, and or you come back to England and you're based in the country where Arsenal actually are, maybe then
Yeah,
might be the
exactly.
time. But
Exactly.
you have the talent, man, more than most. You know what I mean? I'm being honest.
Yeah. I mean,
You've got
thanks
skills,
a lot.
man. You've got skills, real skills.
Yeah,
You
I
know
mean,
football.
that's nice of you to say, fella.
Good
I'm glad you.
conversation.
Yeah, I'm glad you think that way.
You're
And
born for the podcast. You're born for it, streaming.
I'll give it some thought. I mean, obviously, with the World Cup coming up,
Yeah.
that's going to be an opportunity, and international football is more of my forte. So I'll think of something. I'll give it
Yeah,
some
maybe you
thought.
could launch it during the World Cup.
Yeah, I'm not going to completely rule it out per se, but yeah, I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. But
Yeah. You've
for
got
now, I'm just
talent,
happy to
man. You've
float
got
around. I'm
skills.
happy to contribute. I mean, you're seeing me a lot more active with Del Boy, obviously, and I'm on Stephen Featley's channel as well. You might want to come on that stream every now and then. That
Yeah,
he's also
I want to collab with them. Yeah, I want to do some collabs.
yeah, by all
I always
means.
hate the
And
Del Boy, and he never gets back to me. Maybe it's because
look,
Warren. Maybe it's because
you know,
Warren is on the streams, and
they're busy,
myself
but
and
maybe
Warren aren't talking. I don't know.
they're probably busy. But look, maybe when things settle down and maybe when things start to when they start to relax a
Yeah,
bit,
yeah.
they'll get back to you. But look,
You know Northside LDN. Yeah, you know Northside LDN.
I've heard of him. I haven't really
His channel has just.
interacted with him per se.
He's a really nice guy. Yeah, but his channel has just taken off. Like,
Yeah, I've heard some good things
yeah,
about his channel. I know
he's
that
got up
he's
to 2,000 subscribers, and
involved.
he was
Yeah,
on Lee Gunner's channel, and he was on with Kenny, and yeah, he's got a good
yeah.
channel. You should check it out. Maybe go on his one time. It's cool.
Yeah, I might. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. I mean, I'm just
But
happy to
it's
float
some,
around. I'm just happy to sort of
yeah,
stay in the
yeah,
background, if you will.
yeah.
And it's like you want to let people know you're there without necessarily trying to barge in, if you will.
Mm,
I mean,
mm.
of course, you should assert yourself, but I don't want maybe the situation doesn't feel too right for me, but I'll think about it definitely. And like I said, I'm just happy
Yeah,
to
not a
float.
problem. Not a
I'm
problem,
happy
man.
to I'm
Yeah,
happy to
you
be a
can.
part of the conversation, and I still have to look at my performances and see where I go wrong. I don't want to digress too
Yeah,
much. You see, I'm always self-critical, and that's just me in a nutshell. But I've always wanted to come on and talk to you. You've always wanted to see my face. You wanted to hear my voice, and now you've got
yeah.
that
Because I've
opportunity.
seen you on other channels, and you were
Yeah, yeah,
when you were like in the when you were texting, when you were like a part of the chat, your comments were very productive. You know what I mean? Like constructive.
appreciate that. Thank you.
You know, it wasn't just basic stuff. Arteta out, I hate him. You know what I mean? It
Yeah,
was like, this is the problem. Like what you were saying there about Kieran Tierney.
yeah,
Exactly a case in point.
yeah.
He hasn't taken part in any preseason friendlies. He's not fit for the start of the season. You know, so we
Okay.
need cover. Zinchenko, you're in the know. You got your finger on the pulse. You know what I mean? You're constructive.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, you're good at
as
it, man. You're good at it.
Yeah, as I've said, it's
Yeah.
easy to have your finger on the pulse. You can't not have your finger on the pulse. But
Yeah.
you know, like I said, I just want to make sure that my opinions are put forth and that they're
Mm,
not nonsensical and that they are in relation with the topic we're discussing. And I
mm.
definitely don't want to digress too much in any way. I have a tendency to digress, but more often than not, I always come back to center. That's something which, don't worry, you're doing better than Arteta. Talking about football is one thing, managing a
What
team
a
is a.
what a
You put me in
yeah, you
charge
know
of
what I
that,
mean?
I
We're all
wouldn't do
doing
any
better
better.
than Arteta, guys. Everyone is doing better than
Look,
Arteta.
I will credit myself this though. I do a hell of a lot better in the transfer market than Arteta has done. Mark
You
my
do.
words.
You do.
Definitely.
If you had the opportunity, you would have done better.
Yeah.
That's true, though.
I think we can say the same about a lot of people who come on these streams and talk. We don't just talk a good game. We know what we want for the club, and that's what sets us apart.
Because we have the best interest of the club at heart. So we have the best interest of the club at heart. It's true.
You bet.
I don't want Arsenal to be successful so I can walk down the street like this, you know what I mean, with this attitude and go into a bar with this, it's not because of that. It's because I love the club.
Yeah. As an Irishman, you'll know very well that you lot are some of the friendliest people in the world. But if anyone tries to, cross you or act too much, then it is handbags at dawn. I know that much.
Yeah, we're hot tempered. We're hot tempered.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just the way it is. But we are the friendliest people. We're good people, man. We come from good stock. You know what I mean?
I know.
We are a nation of fighters, though. It kind of
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not saying I can fight better than the next guy, but we're just a nation of, we had a lot of
I know. And
our history, has been,
And coming from Cork, they don't call you the rebel country for nothing. But, that just goes to show that, as you said, it isn't just wanting the club to be successful so you can puff your chest out and walk down the street. No, it's about seeing the club go a little bit further than that, because success can be fleeting. You've got to try to build a dynasty the way they've done at Manchester United.
Only one team can be champions every season, But exactly. I know times have changed completely, Manny. Who would have thought 20 years ago that we would be where we are now? Look at Manchester City.
Yeah.
Liverpool were always a powerhouse. Liverpool were always a powerhouse. A big club. United too. They're gone to the dogs right now. But City, Chelsea, things have changed.
Oh yeah, exactly.
We can't take it for granted. All right, I'm going to wrap it up there, man. I would like to thank you for coming on the stream. I appreciate it. And the first of many, hopefully.
Yeah, sure, definitely. And keep doing these streams. Keep getting people on, because
today was a good one. Today was a good day.
Yeah. Just don't be afraid to put the link in the chat and get people to come on and talk and say whatever you want to say.
Collaborate.
It would be terrific. I mean, you need to make sure that you get more communicative. I do like the individual videos.
That is true.
Very insightful, but you need to come on a lot more. Seriously.
Yeah, it's true. And be actually collaborating with other channels there. To kind of get out there.
You bet.
I need exposure. That's true, man.
Delboy does a few watch-alongs for the Irish, for the national team's games. Hop on one of them. Have a chat with him.
True. Yeah, true.
Yeah.
All right.
But anyway,
that would be fun.
Yeah, I've got some stuff to do as well. So it's been good catching up with you. You take care of yourself as well. Yeah?
You too, man. Pleasure.
Cheers. Thanks a lot, man. Bye.
All right, guys. I'm going to wrap it up there. I just want to thank everybody for tuning into my live stream. Thank you for your likes, your subscribes, and your comments. If you want to hit the donate button, if you look at the bottom of the chat bar, there's like a little dollar sign. If you want to hit that and like to donate $1 or $2, I'm looking to buy a microphone to like improve the sound. So I'm going to put it back into my channel, back into my podcasts. Thank you very much to Manny for coming on. I appreciate it. All the best to him. And enjoy the rest of your weekend, guys. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And take it easy.